Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? Just done with the pool. Time for lunch. A salad with a burger and a pita. And then I'll get my avocado. All right. Yesterday, what a big day yesterday. Just crushed it. Let's go through the week. We hit the Pitt, Tennessee, over 30, 20-16. We win. We hit my Kansas City in 4.5 against Miami. Tagovailoa again doesn't show up against the good defense. Mahomes rips apart their defense. And even so, KC scored on a fumble just before half. So it's not like Mahomes, their offense just is not really moving. We lose to Seattle free play, 37-3. I don't know what happened in that game. All of a sudden, Baltimore, they got pressure on. I was surprised they didn't run Walker more or screen passes. So I was really shocked that Seattle they didn't show up. As we know, they're a strong road dog. We'll have to look. We'll have to be careful. With Baltimore and Jacksonville, we're losing against them a little too much. Have the under in the Cleveland-Arizona game, under 37-43. It's 27-0. I thought it would be 17-3. We stayed away from the Green Bay game. Green Bay wins 20-3, but it was ripping, and I wasn't going to bet on ripping. I was surprised. Where's Stenson Benson? He should have been playing. They would have won. Green Bay 20-3, so I ignored that game. Houston, Tampa. I have Tampa +9 in the game. An easy winner. They're up most of the game. Houston comes back 39-37. Some Stroud people are going, look how good he is. Look how good he is. Hey, Greg and John. Well, he beat the Lions. He looks good against them. He's not a very good quarterback. I wasn't expecting Seattle to lose, but I certainly wasn't expecting them to get blown out. We had 12 points, so normally with the Walker and the receivers, they're going to get better. Okay, so I hit Tampa 9, hit the Washington, New England over. Over-under was 41. I go over 35, 20-17. No scoring in the fourth quarter. Washington wins the game. Chicago, New Orleans, I don't play it. When it hit 9.5, I would have played it at 8, -2. New Orleans wins 24-17. The grocery clerk, not a bad game. Nothing great, but New Orleans, pretty good team. Indy and Carr, I don't play. Indy wins 27-13. Vince Young looks terrible because Indy's really a weak team. They were 29 defense, and he could only get 13 on them. Pretty bad. Oakland over the Giants. All of a sudden, Oakland with O'Connell. How bad are the Giants? Daniel Jones, I think ACL or an MCL. Who cares? They're probably better without him. Danny DeVito comes in. Tyrod Taylor's out. Geez, you mean we shouldn't have running quarterbacks because they went to the Peyton Manning camp? That isn't the answer. He should never have been drafted. He's not a pro quarterback. He gets hurt running. Why isn't he sliding? What is he doing? Was he out of his fucking mind? He doesn't belong. You shouldn't be starting this guy. They get what they deserve. O'Connell shouldn't be in the league either. They win 30-6. I mean, where's that coming from? Don't play that one. I played Dallas, Philly over 46, so over 40, and they win 28-23. The reason I picked it is Philly with the strong offense and a very weak defense for such a good team with 22. Dallas scores a 23. Prescott chokes as usual. At the end of the game, what terrible play calling. Philly holds on 28-23. The refs are absolutely horrible with all the bullshit hands to the, illegal contact and holding. What the fuck are they doing? Fourth quarter of a game, you're not making those calls. Those are not critical calls. There was one holding. It's only if the ball is thrown to them and they stop them from doing it would you even consider a penalty. When a guy's just running across the middle and somebody's grabbing their jersey, he's not holding. It's not a penalty. That's not what you call. That's not the point of penalties in football. Way too much of that shit. They tried to give the game to Dallas. Philly wouldn't let it happen. So Philly wins. I had 31-30, 28-23, but I had over 40, which is a joke, way too low. Cincinnati, Buffalo. I had a lock on Cincinnati. Had them with Oregon because I wanted to make sure I had Cincinnati. Then I played them with I got them with the Jets tonight. They win easy 24-18. I got them winning 27-10 again. No revenge. Burrow just looks like the grandmaster chess guy. He just kind of goes up, thinks over there, boom. These guys are wide open. He hits them. You can't stop Burrow. I don't think Cincy will lose the rest of the year. So they win. I think that was the easiest. That and the Kansas City were the easiest bets I had yesterday. I had 4.5 and Joe Burrow at home, the way he just killed the Niners. So they just killed the Niners. They just killed Buffalo. I know they lost to Baltimore, but Burrow wasn't playing 27-24. So I don't know what's going on with Baltimore and Lamar. They changed their offense. Maybe it's getting better. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Jacksonville seems to be doing all this different shit. We'll keep an eye on that. Who you got? Well, I told you, the Jets. Don't you listen? I told you yesterday. The Jets, first of all, should be favored in the game. Why are they the dog? They beat Buffalo at home. They beat Philadelphia at home. They got killed by Dallas. Was their only big loss at Dallas. And they should have beat Kansas City. San Diego, with their idiot coach, is going to beat my coach? No chance. And it's really, I'm betting the Jets defense every week. So I like the Jets at home getting 9.5. It's a joke. And San Diego always plays close games anyway. They're like the perfect team to do this with. They play close games. Their coach is the worst. If they got a lead, they just play not to lose. I mean, they're really why they keep. I don't get why they hire a coach and why they keep a coach and what they're looking for. I've never been able to understand the incredibly bad management of teams. I got the hot mustard. I got a hamburger and a pita with the General Chow sauce and the hot mustard from the Chinese. Love the hot mustard. So I go 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1 yesterday. Good weekend, or this week, with the Jets. So I can go 7-1. Now I'm there. So let's review next week's games. We got a Thursday night game, which maybe 4 people will watch. Carolina and the Bears. I got the Bears laying 3. Right now, I haven't even looked at the line. I'm using my line. But I haven't put in yet. I got to get the stats. Because I get up and I go swimming, and then I'll do the stats after. No hurry. I'll do them today, though. Carolina's very weak. So are the Bears. Two of the weakest teams in the league. Indy, New England. I got New England -3 in Germany. What the fuck are we playing in Germany? So we're in England and now we're in Germany. Sorry about that. I'm so excited. I'm hearing from Daria today. Something about her gives me a big lift. But I'm happy. I don't get this Germany crap. What are you doing? What possible motive besides? And I don't know if it's Germany paying you, and if they are, where they're getting the money from, because they're basically broke. I don't think it's TV. What would TV care? What would TV care if the games in Frankfurt, England, or in New England? They don't care. They just want to televise the game. So why would Munich care about having American football there? Really strange. So it's a road game for both teams. I think Indy's much better. I had New England -3 because I thought the game was in New England. So I got Indy -3 in Germany. Houston and Cincy. It's an old game like the Oilers. No, it's Diet Coke. But coffee would be in a coffee mug. That's I just stopped there and got that. I got Cincinnati 10 over Houston. Houston is a very weak offense, and the defense is decent, but as you saw, they got torn apart by Tampa Bay. Here's where it separates the boys and the men. Burrow against Stroud. Now I had my friend try to tell me how good Stroud is. And look what he did against Georgia. Well, he basically ran against Georgia. And Georgia was playing a man coverage, and he doesn't run, and he ran. And that's why he looked good there. And then you want to use that game yesterday and say, look how good Stroud is. Well, let's go back to the Carolina game. They lost to Carolina 15-13. How good is Stroud? So if you're really good, you don't go to Carolina and lose to the worst team in the league. Then, okay, you look good against Tampa Bay. Fine. But you're not consistent. You can't everybody looks at one game. They go, oh, look, the guy's the greatest player in the world. Look at Colorado with primetime. The first week, he throws for 500 yards. Give him the Heisman Trophy. Yeah, what has he done lately? He didn't score against Oregon. Didn't score last week against whoever they played. Washington State, I think. Or Oregon State. I mean, you can't look at one game. You've got to look at the whole picture. Yeah, backups are bad. But then you have, he tries to point out the Georgia game, and I go, but look at the Michigan game. 2 years in a row, Stroud got killed by Michigan. And the reason I remember that is because I bet them last year in a revenge game going, oh, they'll beat Michigan this year. And they got their ass kicked again. And he was terrible in it. That's why I don't like Tagovailoa. And I don't like Lawrence because in the big games, they don't show up. So against the Arkansas States and the old Mississippis, they look good. But against real teams with real defenses, they don't show up. Tagliabue didn't show up against Georgia. Lawrence did not show up against LSU when they had that great team a couple years ago. So look at the big game. And then I'm looking at them from a betting standpoint. So my point is, do you want to bet Burrow or Stroud? So I don't care how good Stroud is. I don't care how good Dan Fouts is. I bet Joe Montana because he was a winner. And he made us money. Well, back then it was just me. Steve Young sucked. So what you're looking at, are you going to bet the team? When I tell you about a quarterback, it's do you want to bet him? Is he going to make you money? I don't give a fuck if he throws for 400 yards or 800 yards. And he throws for 25 touchdowns. Where was he against Carolina? They lost to Carolina 15-13. Where was he? Okay, he has a big game against Tampa Bay. Who gives a shit? Tampa Bay sucks. It's like the Lions. They're winning Detroit against nobody. They haven't beat a good team. The best team they beat was what? Carolina? Or is it Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Oakland? Name a good team they've won. It's the same as Michigan. Ooh, they beat Purdue this week. Add that to Northwestern, Minnesota. You know, who gives a shit? Look at the teams they got to play. Purdue, Minnesota, Nebraska from the West. The East, they haven't played Maryland, Penn State, or Ohio State yet. The three good teams they haven't even played. Maryland's not even a good team. So I don't want to hear Michigan's good. Beating a bunch of crappy teams does not make you good. It just means you beat a bunch of crappy teams. Ohio State's number one, and they shouldn't be because they beat Notre Dame, who looks like shit. And then what did they beat? Wisconsin, who's terrible, especially with the quarterback out. And who else did they beat? Maryland? How is Ohio State number one with that team? They got a good defense, no offense. If they played Georgia would beat them by 30. So I don't get Ohio State. I mean, the real come is what's the spread on those games? I'm not sure they'd beat Alabama this year. They wouldn't beat Oregon or Washington. Excuse me. They wouldn't beat Oregon, Washington. They wouldn't beat Florida State. At this point, I don't think they could beat Kansas or Texas. And they couldn't. There's no way they could beat Georgia. Probably not Alabama. So they're probably a number 9 or 10 team. Why they're ranked number one, I have no idea. Why Michigan in the top 10, I have no idea. So you get rewarded for beating nobody, which proves that you really aren't very good. What do you get out of it? TK Raiders won, but don't know. How about Raiders won big? Don't know how, but Danny DeVito sucks. Well, we know Danny DeVito played at Syracuse. Okay, quarterback. What is he even drafted for? I mean, what do I do? All I study is college quarterbacks, right? I tell you who's good, who's not. Granted, with COVID, these guys, McCall, Rising, Hartman, Van Dyke stayed in another year. Bo Nix. Penix all should be gone. So we should see at least 10 quarterbacks in college now take over these 10. Caleb Williams, Rising. I don't know what the fuck's going on. He is not hurt. It's a joke. But anyway, yeah, I mean, this is the problem. You got terrible management. You're overpaying your quarterback. You paid Sims what, $30 million a year? Or Jones, Daniel Jones at New York, you paid him $30 million, and now you don't have money for the rest of the team. You don't have money for a backup. He's not even a good quarterback. He wants to run. You can't pay somebody that much money and he runs. Lamar always gets hurt, but he's not even a good quarterback. Okay, so maybe they're doing different plays for him. Maybe it's a little less running for him because he'll get hurt. He's no Joe Burrow. He's no Aaron Rodgers. He's no Mahomes. He's not even close to that. He's an athlete who's fast, not a quarterback. Oh, yeah, he lit up the Lions. Yeah, big deal. Wait till Bo Nix gets the Lions. And the Lions have Hooker. Why aren't they playing him? All right, his knee's hurting. Trade him to New York right now. They got Danny DeVito. I'm sure they'd rather have Hooker. Why aren't they trading for Tampa for Trask? He's much better than Jones. So I don't get these guys. Anyway, so I got Cincy 10 over you. Now, I don't want to know the lines. These are my lines. Then we'll compare them to the real lines, which we'll do in a minute. Minnesota and New Orleans. The game's in Minnesota. Now we've got Dobbs against Carr. I don't know what to do with this game. I think Minnesota, after looking at the quarterback, I had Minnesota 3 over New Orleans, but again, I think I have to change that with Dobbs to New Orleans 3 over Minnesota. Just because of these quarterbacks. Dobbs didn't even start. He doesn't even know the playbook. He doesn't even know what's the name of half the guys on the team. Apparently he got there like a day or two earlier. And he wasn't even the starter. The starter was Hall from BYU. Pitt and Green Bay. Pitt 6 over Green Bay. I got Pickett against Love. I love Pitt in this game. Give me a spread around there. Love's terrible. Pittsburgh will destroy them. Tennessee and Tampa. Mayfield against Levis. I got Tampa Bay by 3 at home. The Niners and Jacksonville. Purdy against Lawrence. Okay, you want to see the real Jacksonville. You got the Niners off of 3 losses, and now they got a bye. They're going to kill them. I got the Niners laying 3. It could be 6. I'm praying that Jacksonville's favored, but I think I've already seen this line of the Niners -3. Look for the defense to be much better. Look for them to pressure Lawrence. Look for them to win by 10 or more. Baltimore, I got 7 over Cleveland. Lamar against Watson. Great defense for Cleveland. Now you'll see the real Watson, right? Against a really good defensive team. I wouldn't bet Watson here. Atlanta, Arizona. We got Riddler against Toon. I guess it's Riddler. I think he's healthy. Or no, they're going to go with Heineke, right? Yeah, they're going to stay with Heineke. Or Heineken. I'll call him Heineken. Heineken or the Riddler against Toon. Either way, I got Atlanta by 3. I don't think they can be much more favored. But Toon, why did Arizona let Dobbs go and keep Toon? I don't understand that. For a 6th-round pick, that's going to be nothing. All right, Detroit at San Diego. We'll see what happens in the game tonight. That's why you can't bet this game until after the game to see if Herbert's okay and Keenan Allen's okay and Bosa didn't hurt himself again. I got San Diego 7 over Detroit. San Diego, as long as everybody's healthy now, wins this game by double digits. Detroit against a good quarterback has no secondary. This is their weak point. The teams they beat have no quarterback. Oakland last week, Carolina, New Orleans, or Tampa, Atlanta with Riddler, Green Bay with Love. None of those teams had a good quarterback. They played two good quarterbacks, Seattle and Baltimore, and they won both. And KC doesn't count. It was week one. They should have won. There was a terrible holding penalty. So with that said, they have trouble with good passers. San Diego wins the game easy. The Giants in Dallas, okay, so it's DeVito, it looks like. Taylor's out with ribs. Jones is out against Prescott. I got the Dallas 10 over the Giants. Coming off the loss to Philly, I think they win by 30 here. This is one of the few times I actually liked the favorite with Dallas. Washington, Seattle, Howell against Smith. I got Seattle minus 10. Washington's got a very weak defense. And so off of this loss to Baltimore, believe me, Coach Pete has got them very pumped up. I thought it was very strange. I saw a catch by that Ohio State guy, Johnson Lovett or whatever his name is. He catches the ball and he runs out of bounds. He could have scored a touchdown. He could have just keep running and he gets out of bounds. That guy's a loser. He's a bust. So I think Seattle will be 10, and I think they'll be pretty pissed after this Baltimore game. The Jets in Oakland, the Heidi Bowl, 1968. They cut away from the game for Heidi at 7:00, and Oakland scored 2 touchdowns. The Jets, I got the Jets minus 3 over Oakland. Wilson against O'Connell. The real spread should be the Jets by 7, and the Jets are going to kill them with their defense. Remember, the Jets went to Denver and beat them pretty good. And now you can see how good Denver is. Speaking of Denver, Denver goes to Buffalo. Wilson against Allen. Buffalo minus 7. Love Denver in this situation. Denver's like Missouri and Oklahoma State and Kansas right now. They're getting better. Buffalo showed you what they got yesterday. They got nothing. Oh, it's Josh Allen. Yeah, he's a superstar. Another loss to another good team. Buffalo doesn't win those games. They're beginning to remind me of Miami. And the way Denver's playing, this game will be. You give me Denver in 13. I'll take that all day. Love is terrible. Love is not a pro quarterback. So if we look at the list of pro quarterbacks, real pro quarterbacks, Young against the grocery clerk, neither of them. Minshew and Jones, Minshew. Stroud and Burrow. Carr and Dobbs, Carr. Love and Pickett. Pickett maybe he's like a C minus. Levis against Mayfield. Mayfield's been okay. Levis, we got to see. Purdy against Lawrence. Yes, Purdy. Lawrence, maybe. Watson against Lamar. Real on the low end. Riddler and Heineken against Toon. Nobody's a pro there. Goff against Herbert. I'll give you Herbert. DeVito against Prescott. I'm stretching it with Prescott. Howell against Smith. Geno Smith near the bottom. Zach Wilson against O'Connell. Zach Wilson's near the bottom. And then Russell Wilson against Allen. Those are pro quarterbacks. So you don't have much. I don't see KC. So KC actually played in Germany, now has the bye. I've been noticing these guys have been playing in London, have not taken the bye. And now this is what? This isn't it? Oh, no, Buffalo played in London. Now KC. So just superficially looking at it, I would say the Z teams, Carolina, Chicago, New England, Green Bay is terrible. Arizona, The Giants. Washington's an over team. Oakland's a Z team. I mean, there's so many Z teams. Are you kidding me? I don't know what the hell is going on, but you've got quarterbacks. I mean, I've never seen worse quarterbacks. I've never watched the NFL and think the quarterbacks. There was a time in like the late 60s that a lot of them were pretty bad, but this is pathetic. I mean, a list of real good quarterbacks. Ready? Burrow, Purdy, Herbert, Aaron Rodgers when he's there, Russell Wilson, and then I'll give you Allen on Buffalo. That's it. That's the league. I mean, they're pathetic. This is why scoring's down. This is why betting is extremely difficult. It's almost like bet against the guys. Like, as we've talked, Love, Pickett against Love. I'm going to bet against Love. Not that I love Pickett, but Love's terrible. I mean, that's how bad it is. How did they beat the Rams 20-3? What the fuck happened there? But I guess who was the quarterback? It was it was Rippon, Brett Rippon from Boise. He's terrible. Which gets you back to why did they draft the guy? He's terrible. Why is he on your team? That's like bringing in an accountant to do accounting, and he doesn't know what a debit and a credit are. What do you got him for? I mean, it's just ridiculous. That's how bad it is, how watered down it is. All right, let's go through the real line now. All right, let's go to the line. So this is next week's pros. Well, we got San Diego 3-40.5, so we still got this week till it rolls over. All right, now here's the real lines. I like mine better, of course. We got the Bears 3.5. I said 3, and we'll call it 40, 39.5. We got Indy 1.5, 43.5, which I changed. Because the game's in Germany. I thought it was New England. New England would be a 3-point favorite, but it's in Munich. Baltimore is 6 and 38.5. I had Baltimore by 7. Not sure why it's 6, but okay. Cincinnati, oh, here we go. See, here's why I do my line. Cincinnati is 7, 47.5. I would say go bet it right now before the line moves. Check your injuries. Maybe you bet it tomorrow, but you got Cincinnati -1 against Houston. Seriously? Wow. Thank you, God. Thank you, sir. May I have another one of these? San Francisco 3, 44.5. Against Jacksonville. That's an easy take. Take the Niners. You get 3 points. So even if they lose by a field goal, you don't lose. You push. And they're going to be pretty pissed off and somewhat rested and healthy. McCaffrey needed the rest, so they should be good to go. New Orleans, I had 3. They've got 3 and 41 to Minnesota. Carr against Dobbs. I like that Kamara's back. They're playing very good, New Orleans. Minnesota's playing well. Can Dobbs do what he did against the real team, though? Dobbs, where is he? He's on Minnesota against Atlanta. Well, now he's got to do it against New Orleans, which is a much stronger team. So we'll see what we do here. Oh God, Pittsburgh's only 3.5, 37.5 to Pittsburgh. There's another take Pitt. I really like the way Pickett's pulling. That's why I locked him against Jacksonville. He looked great against the Rams. All these back shoulders actually look like a quarterback. Then he gets hurt in the middle of the game. Thursday he plays, and they beat Tennessee, which is what I was expecting against fucking Jacksonville. So now they got you've got Pitt against Green Bay with Love against that defense, TJ Watt. I'm only laying 3.5. Yeah. Wow. We're gonna have a big week next week. Tampa Bay 1.5, 38.5. Levis against Mayfield. I had Tampa by 3. They're at home. It's normal 3, pretty even. Levis, I don't know. Is he that good? What did Tennessee? No, they lost to Pitt. Yeah, I think Tennessee's a live dog here. I don't think Tampa Bay's very good. Atlanta 1.5. Oh my God. 1.5, 41.5 to Arizona. Heineke against Toon, and I'm only one. I get 4.5. Really, wow! This is like Christmas here. Oh my God! Detroit's favorite. I got San Diego -7. Right? That's a real honest. Detroit -1.5, 48.5. Now you can't bet it now in case Herbert gets hurt or Bosa gets hurt tonight. As soon as the game's over and everybody looks okay, San Diego's a home dog to the Lions. Oh, my God. So I can lock this with Cincinnati for like 50 units. What? Wow. 48.5 I don't get, but this is an automatic. Why does people think Detroit hasn't played anybody good? Nobody at this level. They're going to beat Herbert and Bosa and those guys. Really? Okay. Good luck with that one. Dallas. Now here we go. Dallas 15.5, 39 again because of DeVito. Prescott against DeVito. This is a game that Dallas tends not to win by 15.5, so we'll have to see. With DeVito, they'll just shut him out. So I think they win 24-0 or something like that. We got a break. Seattle only 6, 45.5 to Washington. With Hull, this is an over game because Washington's an over team. They will score, but they have no defense, and Seattle can score. And against a no defensive team, they should score pretty good. My JETS, Jets are -2.5, 37 against Oakland. Another, take the Jets. Wow. I get the Jets in 3.5 against O'Connell. And last but not least, Buffalo -7, 47. Exactly what I said against Denver. We like Denver. I've already got 7 games circled. Wow. And I don't know how you can favor Chicago over anybody. They're just like Green Bay. Grocery clerk against Steve Young. I think that's a top. I don't know. It's Carolina. I don't know how good Carolina is. I mean, can you even bet them? But how can you play Chicago as a favorite? Who can they beat? They wouldn't beat anybody in the Big Ten or the Pac-10 or the SEC. Put them against Missouri. I'd take Missouri. I'd take Georgia. I'd take Alabama. I'd take Ole Miss. And the whole Pac-10, Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, right down the list. Who could they beat? With the grocery clerk. That's a backwards way to bet. Normally we're looking at, Kansas City and Joe Burrow, and we're going to bet Joe Montana, and we're taking Lawrence Taylor. This is the other way of betting, is I'm betting against Love. I'm betting against, who? I'm betting against New England. I'm betting against the Giants. I'm betting against Oakland. It's just they're that bad. I mean, they're just so bad. Anytime you can get them favored, you just bet against them. Like Detroit being favored, Tampa being favored, Chicago being favored. You just there's no way they can win the game yet. In a teaser, we get Carolina 9.5, or we get Tennessee in 7.5, or you get Atlanta, okay, Philly, the Jets, you get plus 3.5 against Oakland. Well, unless Snake Stabler's coming back in, I just don't see O'Connell beating the hell out of my Jet team. This is impossible. So that's your setup. Now you can understand why I make my own line, and then I look at the real line. So my own line, like Cincinnati minus 10. That was like, okay, what do I think? Yeah, Cincinnati's watch how they just killed the Niners, and they just killed Buffalo. And from Hawaii, I don't know anybody in Hawaii. So they just killed the Niners. They just killed Buffalo. You got them against Houston. Okay, yeah, C.J. Stroud, yeah, okay. He put up 13 on Carolina, and they lost, and then he puts up 39 on Tampa. Which one is he? The guy who can't score 15 on a tough Carolina defense, or the guy who scores well against a tough Tampa defense? And now you got Cincinnati, who is very much for real. And they need the game because they lost those early games. To Cleveland, to Baltimore. They need the games. Joe Burrow's playing all world. Like he's at LSU. The creamy Caesar dressing. Sometimes I like the French. Sometimes I like the white. So you look at the hot teams. Nobody's hotter than Cincinnati. Nobody needs it more. Nobody goes, they've been to the Super Bowl and the AFC champion. They're not chokers. They know how to win. Joe Burrow won the NCAA. This is why I look at Stenson Bennett. I don't understand it. You're starting Danny DeVito, and here's Stenson Benson, who was drafted in the 5th or 6th round by the Rams, and certainly the Giants could have picked him. Oh, no, we're staying with Daniel Jones. You think Daniel Jones, how many national championships did he win? So if Stenson Benson wins 2 at Georgia and people just ignore it, like, well, yeah, but it didn't. Who did you beat, right? Like, it's so stupid. Well, we beat Ohio State, then we killed TCU, we killed Michigan. And I love the Michigan-TCU game because TCU knew Michigan was stealing signs, so they put a bunch of dummy signs out there. It's so beautiful. And that's what I say when you play poker. You put out, people are watching you, so you put out fake tells. You've got to be smart enough to realize that people are watching you for tells, so you put out fake tells. I love having a full house, and I get nervous, and I knock over my chips, and people think I'm bluffing, and then I turn over my full house, and I did it all on purpose. anyway, so that's why I do it. So where else did we see Pitt 6, only 3.5? San Diego 7, and they're getting 1.5. That has to be the biggest mistake. Seattle 10 giving 6. And I think that Pitt 6, 3.5, and then Cincinnati 10, 7. Yeah, so pretty much I'm dead on. I still think Indy should be 3 over New England, but it's in Germany. But that's my point. Yeah, so it looks like Miami and Kansas City are off this week, as they should be. You got to travel. They got to get back to the jet lag and the time change. It's ridiculous. So that's why you do your own line. Now I got to get into the stats so I can figure out the defenses. So if I look at last week's, so we look at Carolina, Chicago. So last week, Chicago's a 27, Carolina's a 28. Well, probably not a big change. Carolina gave up 27. They normally give up 28. So right on cue. Chicago gives up 27, gave up 24. So that should stay, right? So Carolina, they're going to be 28. And the Bears are going to be 27. So you got some pretty weak fucking defenses out there. You got a grocery clerk against Steve Young. Yeah, over 40. This has got to be way over 40. Again, what I noticed, so let's look at Chicago, New Orleans. They play a 24-17 game, which is surprising, but it does go over the 41. And then Carolina, Indy, that was also a 44. Indy beats them 27-13, so it's also a 40. That goes over. Carolina only scores 13 on Indy's 29 defense, and Young's really lost, as all the Alabama quarterbacks are. They're look at Mac Jones, he's lost. Look at Jalen Hurts, he's lost. Look at Tua, he's lost. And so of all the Alabama quarterbacks, they're all lost in the NFL because they can't read defenses. I saw the last play of the Miami KC game yesterday. They blitzed him and he wasn't ready for it. He just fell down and that was the game. He can't spot a blitz. He can't get out of the blitz. Same thing with Josh Allen. This is the problem these guys have. All you got to do is blitz. You blitz Lamar, he's nothing. Why aren't you blitzing the guy? He can't throw. And if you just blitz him, and don't blitz you got to blitz with linebackers and safeties who are fast. You don't blitz 300-pound defensive tackles. I wouldn't even have them in the game. I would play a 3-4. I'd have a defensive tackle, 2 fast defensive ends that are maybe linebackers, and then I'd have 2 safeties playing linebacker, and I would just blitz them. And that way he can't deke around them because my guys are faster than you. So that's what I would do. But this is why I did it. So I found a few mistakes. All right, Dallas, I got 10 is 15. The key right off the bat is San Diego. Get it now. I pray nobody gets hurt. Please, nobody get hurt tonight. Let the Jets win and Herbert's okay. And that's why you can't bet it now. You've got to wait for the game to end. This is why I hate Monday Night Football. And then after, so the Lions get a break because they're getting San Diego off Monday night. But you hope the Jets win. Then San Diego's pissed. And at home as a dog, that's a triple, right? You got them as a dog, and you got them at home, and you got them off of the loss. That's the best you can ask for any of these teams. So that'll be a huge lock if everybody's healthy, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. I don't see the line really moving because everybody loves Detroit because they can beat Carolina, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay. Look at them. Oh, they beat Oakland. And yeah, they killed Oakland. They're the best. My God. And I get 7.5. Wow. So I mean, right off the bat, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, let's just say Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, San Diego, and the Jets right off the bat. I mean, that's 4 easy. Just don't have anybody hurt. If they're all healthy, those are 4 of the easiest bets I've ever made in my life. And that's what you're looking for. See, had San Diego been favored, it would have been harder. I wouldn't lock Detroit. I'm not sure they can win, but now it's so much easier with San Diego, with Detroit favored. Oh my God. All right, so that's the pros. Let's go to college. So just to recap my picks in week 10, excuse moi. So we start off with Duke under wins. We avoid Troy, South Alabama, because South Alabama's quarterback was out, and Troy did beat them 28-10. We lose with Texas, Kansas State, under 55. If it goes to 60. I don't know what happened there. Texas, with the backup quarterback, puts up 33 on Kansas State. Makes no sense. Both teams are 16 defenses, so I really got to dig into the college defenses a little bit more because of they play the high school teams, right? And then they play the MAC teams week 1. So I got to get out of that because clearly if you're a 16 defense, you're not giving up 33 points to the backup quarterback on Texas. So I got to watch that game and see what happens. Usually they're like turnovers. It's all turnovers. Ohio State Rutgers, I lose that under on the 93-yard interception. And then late in the game, they go for it on their own 17, 4th and 2. Rutgers, they don't make it. Ohio State scores the touchdown to fuck us because it would have been 28-16 a 44. We are under 49. So we lose with 2 minutes left because they go for it on 4th and 2 at their own 17. And then Ohio State, why aren't they just taking a knee? They're up. What was the score? They're up 28-16. Michigan State, for senior day, I didn't bet this. They beat Nebraska 20-17. That's their game. Look for them to get killed the rest of the way out. They got Ohio State this week. They're in big trouble. See, but they're going to be flat. They got up for the game. Now they'll be flat. I warned you Kansas wouldn't be flat, and I warned you Oklahoma State won't be flat. But Michigan State will be flat because this was their Super Bowl. Oh, okay. We're going to beat Nebraska for our Super Bowl. Now we've won 3 games. A&M Mississippi, 38-35 Ole Miss. A&M looks really good with their backup. They got 9 and over 53, so they score 73. See, these are the overs I like, these 53s with teams like, now again, here's an A team in A&M gives up 20 and an A team in Mississippi gives up 21 and the game gets into the 30s. So again, you question that. And then the other part is these under games that go over the Ohio State game. Like, where are you getting that 35-16 for? Anyway, Notre Dame losing to Clemson, just terrible coaching for Notre Dame. They lose 31-23, another pick 6 here. So what you're getting is these defenses. This is a 15 defense Notre Dame and a 21 defense Clemson. Where the fuck are they scoring 54 points? So I again have under 45. I got 51. Should be no problem. And again, where's Clemson scoring 31 from? They didn't score 31. They lost to NC State 24-17. They lost to Duke 28-7. Where's this coming from? And Notre Dame, who held Ohio State to 17. So it doesn't make any sense. And that's where you just scratch your head. And that's why you can't go 100%. And that's why you don't bet your whole bankroll on one game, because you just never know. Let's see. Utah, I don't know what happened there. 55-3 over Arizona State. What was that? I didn't play the game. I can't play Utah without rising, maybe an under, but not in this one. This is a 39 under, and they put up 58, and they put it all up by themselves. I don't know. Army Air Force, we do have, was a lock. It wins backwards. We thought it'd be 23-0 Air Force, who was 23-3 Army. I have no idea. They both know each other's offense without stealing signs. And it's a 26. The over-under was 35, was 41, so we get there easily. South Florida, Memphis, over 68. It's 59-50. That's what you look for. Those are two over teams. UTSA, North Texas, two explosive teams. We get a 37-29, so it's a 66. Over-under was 71. We just get there. That's why you got to be careful with these 70-point totals. That's why I like the 50-point totals. UAB, Florida Atlantic was surprising, 45-42 UAB. Florida Atlantic really isn't an over team, and their backup quarterback, but UAB's terrible. They're an over team that gives up 38. So that's why if you have a decent offense and you play a UAB, this over-under was 59, and they put up an 87. So UAB, these teams that score a lot give up 36, 37, 38. Those are over games. Those you love, as long as you have some type of offense, not an Army or a Navy. UCF Cincinnati, over 59. It goes to 54. We get there. Cincinnati doesn't look as good. 32 defense, 28-26. Not really your over type of teams. Florida State handles Pitt just barely. 21, you're giving up 15. They win by 17 on a late touchdown. Those are the strange games. Florida State should kill Pitt. And they go to Pitt, and they just don't blow them out the way you think because the game's at Pitt. You got to watch those road favorite type of games. This week, Florida State's got Miami, and we got to go against my Miami coach who is incompetent. I love it. Penn State, Maryland. I have Penn State. I don't like it at 11. It goes to 8.5 for some reason. I love it minus 2.5. They win 51-15. What the fuck went on there? Who the hell's betting on Maryland in this type of game? Maryland is not a good team, okay? They might look good, but now they've lost. They lost to Illinois, and they lost to somebody else who was terrible. And they are not beating Penn State at home. That ain't going to happen. They're not good against the better teams. Michigan will kill them also. Louisville, VTech. Louisville looks super strong. 34-3. They're bringing, for a team that I thought was going to have a good offense, really has a good defense. They got an 18 defense. So 34-3 here. Iowa, Northwestern, a 30-point over-under, and Iowa wins 10-7. And Northwestern's quarterback was out. So just amazing how, without McNamara, Iowa, no offense, great defense. And they played a low-scoring game with Wisconsin and now with Northwestern. James Madison, Georgia State. James Madison is a strong A team, 42-14 against a pretty strong Georgia State team, but they just blow them out, 42-14. Forget they're laying 5. It's an easy pick and just take James Madison. They are very strong. Houston, Baylor. I lose with the over 52 in the game, or 51. It's a 49 that isn't even a 49. It was 17-17 at the end of the game. It was 7-0. Where was Baylor? I looked. They were where were they? I don't know what they were doing. 25-20. So I could have got lucky and win it because it's 17 all at overtime. Then it goes 24, and then Houston scores, and instead of kicking the extra point, they go for 2. And they get it, so they won. And then you want them to, kick the extra point and let's go on. And these coaches are just getting worse and worse. Can somebody explain the Buffalo? Somebody please explain the Buffalo Cincinnati ending. So it's 24-10, and Buffalo scores 24-16. You're down 8. Why in God's name would you go for 2? If you don't get it, you're down 8. You then get the 2 to tie. If you kick the extra point, you're down 7. Then you either kick the extra point, go to overtime, or then you go for 2. But why would you go for 2 down 8? I don't understand. They get down 14, and all these coaches go for 2. Like there's some magical card that says, don't kick the extra point and get down 7. Go for 2. And I'm like, still, because you normally you don't make it. You're down 8 points. If you're lucky enough to score, you need the 2 to tie. Kick your extra point, get down 7. Then all you need is an extra point, and you tie them up, and you go to overtime. No, we don't want to do that. We want to go for 2 and miss and then get it. They happen to get it, but what are you even doing? Mathematically, it makes no sense. So now you're down 6. So now you score and you get the touchdown and you win. Is that what you're really playing for? You're going to be lucky enough to score twice, more or less. But I noticed when they're down 14, they go for 2. I don't know where that is. It doesn't. I'm a math person. It makes no sense to me. You want to, if you're playing to win, and this is where my mind differs from them and most people. If I'm playing to win, I kick the extra point. I get down 7. Then if I score the touchdown, now I can go for 2 for the win. Why would I go for 2 when I'm down 14? If I miss it, now I got to go for 2 to tie. Well, wait a minute. I might as well kick an extra point to get the tie. With my odds on doing that are 98%. My odds on going for 2 are like 10%. What the fuck are these people doing? Anyway, big lock, Oklahoma State over Oklahoma. Second week in a row, I picked against Oklahoma to lose, and they lost. Kansas, I won with them. Oak State, I win with them. 27-24. Oak State, the hottest team in college football now. Bet them, bet them, bet them, bet them, bet them, bet them. So they win 27-24. A lot of going for it on 4th downs. Missouri, Georgia, I go over because I like Missouri's offense, and their defense isn't that good. Georgia's been lighting it up. Georgia wins 30-21, a 51. The over was 55, so 49. I get the over in a Georgia game, and as I'm watching, I'm going, yeah, I should have bet the under. What am I fucking around with? But it's the way Georgia plays. It's a big first half. Second half's all field goals. And, they won by 9. They're laying 14.5. See, but I don't want to lay 8.5 with Georgia. It's a much better play to go under. Under wins, especially in a 55. So I could have went under 61 and really wasn't threatened. I needed I think I got a late field goal from Missouri. Or I got a late field goal from one of them to win it, but it was I think it was 27-21, and I'm like at 48. I go, I just need a field goal. Like, give me a field goal. And Georgia, the guy kicked it. It was coming outside, and it swerved into the middle. I was like, good God. Hawaii beats Nevada 27-14. I mean, go figure these teams out. I'm surprised at the low score. Hawaii just doesn't show an offense. Nevada clearly doesn't have an offense. If they only score 14 on Hawaii, who gives up 36 a game. So keep in mind, these teams are not scoring. Cal and Oregon, I have the over here. 59. I'm over 53. I get 63 by Oregon. It was over at halftime. I think it was 35-13. It was a 48. I needed 52. So I got the touchdown real early in the third quarter. 63-19. I thought Cal could score a little bit more, but I think 19 against Oregon is pretty good. They're a very strong defensive team at home. Keep that in mind. Remember, Colorado got shut out. And we got them next week at USC. I'm waiting to see that over. I hope it's under triple digits. Let it be in the 90s. I'll be happy. Oregon's going to put up 70 points on USC. No question. How much will USC put up on Oregon? I think the fact it's at USC helps because it's on grass. They're at home. They're going to murder them. They're going to. It's not going to be close. The Washington game was kind of close, and they won by 10. Liberty Lou-Tech. Liberty lights them up 56-30. Over was 58. They get an 86 here. Where did this come from? Now, Lou-Tech is an over team. Liberty's an A team, but very explosive. So Liberty took advantage, but L-Tech was able to score on Liberty a 21 defense, which, again, we got to dig deeper into it, just looking down at conference now. So I'm going to be looking more at in the conference for these littler teams. We know Georgia, we know Oregon, Washington. We don't need to go to the high school games and take them out, but we do need that in the L-Tech and Liberties. UNLV, New Mexico. I hit this game over. I have over 54, and it's 56-14. I get a 70 on it. Both teams are over. Vegas with the 27 defense, New Mexico with the 33. Vegas puts up 56 on the 33 defense. New Mexico only gets 14 on the 27. The spread was 11, but I just, as soon as I see two overs and two bad defenses, I go over. And then that's what you hope is one of the teams, Vegas, lights it up, just like Oregon did, and you get the over just with that team. And New Mexico added 14. They're good offense, but Vegas got rolling, probably turnovers. When you see a score like this, there's probably a few pick sixes or some fumble returns that added to it. Kansas, Iowa State, that was our double lock. Locked it with the Air Force under, locked it with Oklahoma State, getting 12.5. Never worried in the Oklahoma State. They were up. They were down 4 once. Even if they scores 11, I got 12.5. And then Oklahoma State goes and wins it. Kansas was the beautiful lock. You never worried. It was 14-0 Kansas, and that was it. And it was 14 most of the game. And we're getting 7.5 with the team that's winning, as strong as Kansas. They win 28-21. That was just beautiful. That I couldn't believe they were the dog. And when it went from 1.5 to 2.5, I'm like, what the fuck's wrong? Who would be stupid enough to bet Iowa State in this game? Didn't Kansas just beat Oklahoma? So if you don't think they're good, then you look at, well, they killed BYU and they killed Illinois. They've been winning all these games. They'll beat Texas when they play them, and they just have an explosive offense and a great coach and a pretty good fucking secondary that hits the hell out of you. So 28-21, Kansas as the dog. What a joke that was. Washington SC, it's a 75. It's a 70. It ended 77.5, I believe. Washington was 4.5, go down to 2.5, which I thought was, there's no way I'm taking SC here. Washington wins 52-42. They play a 94. It was 35 all like at halftime. I mean, it's great when at halftime you've got your over on you got a 70-point over and you got it at halftime. And you love it at 35 all. There has to be a winner. So it's 73, and even at 77, you're 71. It's all over. So 52-42 in Oregon, it ain't going to be much different. They're gonna. If Washington put up 52, Oregon's going to put up 72. There's something about Oregon's offense. Good fucking luck. They got that Fresno State. No. Washington's got the Fresno. Oregon's got a hell of an offense. Bo Nix, he's on fire. USC has nothing, but they will be able to score some points. This, depending on the spread, I might take Oregon if I'm laying 1 or 2. They're going to kill them. SMU Rice, I told you Rice, pretty good team. SMU an A team, 36-31 SMU. They play a 67. Over under again in the 50s. So it's an easy 52. That's what you're looking for. Rice with the 28 defense. SMU lights them for 36. SMU with the 14 defense, and they had played Oklahoma like 28-11. And then here comes Rice with that. This turkey calls me at the worst time always. All right, 36-31. SMU wins. They don't cover. The spread was 12.5, but they do go over. So what I'm trying to point out is the over teams and how these over games play out. The only one that really didn't play out was Baylor Houston. Somehow went under, and then we're going to get to a few that I in my head. Michigan Purdue. Michigan wins 41-13. 54. I like it over at 48. I go, it's going to go over 42, which I was right. But when it went to 52, I said, now it's too strong. I go under 59, which I was right at. So I nailed the score. I get Michigan minus 26. Michigan wins by 28. So I sneak in with that on this late touchdown by Purdue. I love when the team's down a lot and they go for two. What is the go for two for? What is that? Why are you going for two? It's 35 to 10. Well, we'll go for two. Okay. So we hit the Michigan game. LSU, Alabama, easy over. We go over. It's 59, and then it goes to 61. I think I took it over twice. And LSU, I know is going to score on them, and they don't have a defense. Alabama, I don't love their offense, but Milrose was able to run on them 42-28. They play a 70. How often do you see Alabama, LSU at a 70? Alabama with the 16 defense. Now, there's that cheap shot on the quarterback, on Daniels, the LSU quarterback. The guy should have been thrown out of the game. No excuse. He hits him with his helmet on his chin and knocks out the LSU quarterback in the fourth quarter. No room for that. I mean, if you're so worried about safety, and if the guy who breathes on the quarterback, you call roughing the passer and all this pass interference bullshit, defensive holding bullshit, and you let that play go and he wasn't thrown out of the game, it was clearly targeting. He hit him with his helmet on his chin. What the fuck do you want? So if you're going to make the rules, it's got to be on both teams. You can't just make calls for Alabama, but not against Alabama. I thought it was a terrible call. So the guy probably broke his jaw. We'll see. I'm sure he'll play this week, but it's a big thing. Daniels looked very good. He runs very well, but he can throw the ball. He reminds me of Hooker, Hendon Hooker of Tennessee. He could run, but he could really throw the ball. And that's what I like in the quarterback. That's why I don't like Lamar. He can't throw. But in this issue, Daniels looks really good. I'd rather have him than Danny DeVito, put it that way. So another sleeper at quarterback that is another first-round pick. They're just coming out of the – this guy's like Richardson, but 20 times better. Richardson can only run. He can't throw. This guy can actually throw it well. So like I said, this guy's just like Hooker. Can run a little bit, but a very accurate arm. Miami loses to NC State, 20-6. Van Dyke throws 3 interceptions. The offensive coordinator needs to be fired. Poor Van Dyke has gotten 2 terrible offensive coordinators after the good one he had. He should never be throwing 3 interceptions in a game. He should be throwing 3-4 touchdowns a game. So terrible. They get Florida State. Florida State's going to kill them. The game I'm scratching my head over, Stanford, Washington State, 10-7, Stanford wins. Maybe I can understand Stanford getting 10, but I can't. But where's Washington State in 7? Where's my Washington State guy who wants to tell me how good their quarterback is, putting up 7 on a 38 defense Stanford? I got 2 over teams with the 38 defense and the 31 defense, and you get 10-7. What the fuck happened in this game? Now, this is, you just can't explain it. It's a good bet. They're both over teams. 60, all we need is 54. This should be a halftime score, and we get 10-7. And see, this is what I don't get. The Notre Dame game, the Ohio State game, I'm expecting this score. 2 strong defenses. I'm not expecting this out of a 38 and a 31 defense. I don't know what the fuck that was. Oregon State, Colorado, Oregon State 26-19. Another over that doesn't materialize. I got a Oregon State an over with the 30 defense and Colorado an over with the 35 defense. We know Again, Prime Junior, nowhere to be seen in the game. Oregon State only gets 26 because Ooglia Booglia sucks. So this is a game, again, I would have expected at least a 60, 70-point game. 26-19. Like, I don't get what the hell goes on at these late games. I always struggle with them for some reason. Everything's going fine. I'm hitting the LSU over and the Michigan game, and I'm hitting Oak State and Kansas, and all the overs are coming in, and this shit happens at 10 o'clock. I get 10-7 Stanford and 26-19 Oregon State. What the fuck is that? Fresno State beats Boise 37-30. I don't play it. Fresno is the A team there, so that was expected. And then at the end, I got the under in a lock. UCLA, Arizona under. This was 50-56. Finally, something that went the way it should have. 27-10 Arizona. Very strong defenses. That's what I was expecting with Ohio State, and that's what I was expecting with Notre Dame. I get it with, of all teams, UCLA and Arizona. So I just scratched my head. So that's last week. So the only real games I lose is Texas, Kansas State, 16 defenses going over. The Notre Dame, Clemson, low defenses, and the Ohio State, Rutgers, the strong defenses. Those three I lost, and then the two night ones I lost. Everything else I hit. I can't understand the Notre Dame game going over, and I can't understand the Ohio State game going over. I mean, Rutgers has no offense and a strong defense. They played a 31-7 with Michigan. That's what I'm expecting. Yeah, I hate these teams like with a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, they score a touchdown. They're not taking knees. What the fuck is that? All right, Greg and John. TK, you're doing great, sir. Gold is for you. How much gold is your necklace? 1 ounce. Who is that turkey? I don't know what that means. You like snow. Okay, what does that got to do with football? I don't mind snow. I don't like it. I'd prefer warmer weather. All right. I have a few lines. I did not make my own lines in college yet. I could. I usually do, but not this week. So let's go to the college lines. Now we have the first few because they're MAC. So we got MAC. The whole MAC is now Tuesday, Wednesday league. What is that? Can you imagine? You want to go see Akron, Miami of Ohio, and you got to go on Wednesday night? Don't people work? They're not running there to. And I wonder why the league's so bad. Is that these NILs and these transfer portal kids? So anybody who's any good is leaving for the bigger colleges. Nobody's running to Toledo and Eastern Michigan and Western Michigan to play. Yeah, I knew that. Mm-hmm. So Northern Illinois, 9.5, 43.5. These games are tomorrow. Western Michigan, 356.5. Wow, this was 5 last night. This is 551. Ohio 743.5 over Buffalo. We'll go through till Friday, and then we'll kind of talk about them. Well, I guess let's just go through the line. Bowling Green 8.5, 41.5. Miami of Ohio 17.5, 43.5. Toledo 18.5, 46.5. Then we've got Thursday, Louisville 20 and 50 against Virginia. We got Lou Lafayette 10.5, 52.5 to Southern Miss. We got SMU minus 17, 67. Now, North Texas is very explosive over team. SMU, as we know, is an A team. Vegas 4.5. What the hell was that? Oh, here they are. Vegas 4.5, 51 to Wyoming. Vegas is playing well. Okay. Alabama 10.5, 48.5 to Kentucky. South Carolina 13.5, 57.5. Playing Vanderbilt, who's kind of weak. South Carolina's kind of weak. BC 1.5 over VTech. 49. Clemson 14.5, 55. I don't know. Georgia Tech's not a bad team. I don't know who Clemson is. They're so inconsistent. They've got 4 losses, and then they go beat Notre Dame. I mean, what the hell? The coach is just in way over his head. Any man that would start Trevor Lawrence can't be all there. Michigan 5.5, down from 7. 44.5, down from 46. A versus a 7 defense, supposedly, but I don't buy it, against a 12 defense who has played Ohio State and Maryland. Now we're in week 11, and we have no idea about Michigan. We have no idea how good they are after 10 weeks. How pathetic is that? So we can't even play this game because we don't know. We don't believe they're that good. They're at Penn State, where they don't play well. Penn State played Ohio State fairly well. A 44 over-under with one strong defense and one asterisk. Very tough one. I don't know. We'll have to look at it. South Florida, minus 7, 67. To Temple, who terrible defense. See, last week, somebody played Navy Temple, and they played Navy. Navy doesn't have the offense to really take advantage of Temple's 36 defense. South Florida does. They're an over team with a strong offense. They can take advantage of the 36 defense. So you got to be careful. When you get these weak teams, you've got to have strong offensive teams to take advantage of them. You can't have an under team like a Navy, who's not a real good team either, think they're going to win. You've got to have, like here, I feel much better South Florida minus 1 to beat Temple versus a Navy or an Army team who really isn't that good. My Kansas. Where are you, boys? Kansas. Kansas minus 3.5, 60.5. This is a dream. They're playing really the best ball in the country. 3.5 against Texas Tech, who's a 26 defense, Kansas 27. You just beat Oklahoma. You just beat Iowa State, a good defensive team. And, you played Iowa State to a 49, 28-21. Here you got Texas Tech at a 60. This is take your pick. Kansas, go over. Be my guest. Illinois, 6.5, 44. To Indiana. Indiana actually beat Wisconsin last week, who's got so many injuries. I don't know. Tulane, 22.5. What happened to them last week? They were laying 16 and they won 13-10 against a trash team. So I don't know. Maybe they'll bounce back. Maybe it was an injury. I don't know. Maryland, 1.5, 44.5. To big Nebraska. Boy, I really think Nebraska's a good play here. Even though Heinrich Himmler, he's all right, but Maryland, they're bad and they're on the road as a favorite. I don't get why they're not a good team. Liberty and Old D. Liberty minus 14.58. Old Dominion's not bad. 26. Liberty of 14. Yeah. You'll probably get some scoring there. NC State 2.5, 44.5 to Wake Forest. Here it is. NC State minus 2.5, 44. I missed this. I gotta put in my numbers on these two teams. NC State's they're both probably unders. James Madison, UConn. James Madison, very good team. Minus 25, 48. Gotta love James Madison here. Connecticut's terrible. Tennessee killed them, and I don't see why James Madison won't kill them also. I always do that. If this was week 1, I would have locked Tennessee over UConn, right? I'm playing against the Z team. But I get caught in the middle of the year, and I miss that. I missed that game. I should have locked Tennessee, with Kansas and Oak State, and then I don't even play Tennessee, and they win 59-3. Now, of course, it's easier after the game's over to go, yeah, I should have. That's the biggest problem with gambling. After the game's over, you go, yeah, I picked it right, but I didn't bet it. And then you pick, the Stanford Washington State over, and they don't get there, and you're going, well, why did I bet this game? So it's usually a lot easier after the game. Memphis, 11.5, 53.5. To Charlotte. We got Georgia State, 2.5, 60 to App State. Here we go. Georgia State minus 2.5, 60 to App State. Arizona, 10.5, 54. Wow, this was 6. Went up to. I love how they say opening line 8.5. It was not 8.5. It was 6 yesterday. 10.5, 54 over under. There's no way this is getting there. Colorado's not going to score on this team. Arizona's strong defense, 20 defense. Troy, 21-45 to UL Monroe. All Troy here. They've been red hot. And UL Monroe is a Z team, as we all know. Utah State, 15.5, 56 to Nevada. Nevada's the Z team. Utah State's the over team. Look for Utah State big here. LTech, Sam Houston. LTech 8.5 and 48 to Sam Houston. Kansas State 20-55 to Baylor. K-State's been playing well. Baylor, I don't know what happened to them. They didn't show up against Houston. They lost 17-17. They're not scoring Baylor for some reason. So K-State should kill them. Here we go. Florida State, Miami. Florida State minus 14, 51. You gotta love Florida State here. Miami just now, since they didn't go for the knee, they're gone. You can't trust the coach. They show incompetence. I mean, they're as bad as the San Diego coach. So you gotta love Florida State. At home, they'll be concentrating. This is why against Pittsburgh they don't really play, because they know this game's coming. Oak State 2.5. Oak State 2.5, 63 to UCF. Now, Oak State got really emotional for Oklahoma. They could be a little flat here. I don't think so. Because at this point, they're playing to win the conference, right? And therefore, I don't think they'll let up. They've been very strong. Now, it'd be, if they were the dog, you'd love it, but we only get that every once in a while. Minnesota, Purdue, Minnesota 1.5. 45 to Purdue. Purdue stinks. Minnesota, I can't understand how they're favored here. Both teams suck. Texas State against Coastal Carolina. We got Texas State minus 1.5 and 60. Coastal Carolina, McCall's out. They played pretty well with the backup quarterback last week. Texas State's explosive. Coastal Carolina's not. It's a B team, but that's with McCall. So without McCall, I can't imagine they're going to score more, but we'll see. Wisconsin 12.5, 42 to Northwestern, and the quarterback's injured, so we'll see if he's still injured. I mean, it's just go under, and it's a Wisconsin game. Now, I love this one. Iowa, Rutgers. Iowa's 2.5. I've never seen this before in my life. The over under in this game is 28. Iowa, Rutgers over under 28. And the ironic thing is, it'll go under. They won't score 20 points because Iowa just can't move and shuts you down, and Rutgers, they can't move. Maybe it's a Rutgers an 8.5. I don't know, but this is definitely an under. But this is, it's like a 90 over under. You want to go over on, right? It's crazy. It's too low to really go under 30, 34. Washington and Utah, very good game. Washington minus 10, 54 to the very strong defense Utah. I think you just take Washington. See, here, you can't play it over because Utah's not going to get you there, and their defense is going to be real stingy here, and they're going to be running the ball. They're not going to stop Washington here. Washington laying only 4. Their spread should be 20. I mean, I love Utah, but without Cam Rising, they're not the same team. Oh, a nice one here. Tennessee, 1.5, 59.5. Surprising. To Missouri. I like Missouri as a home dog to Tennessee all day, especially SEC. A lot of it in the Big Ten and a lot of these, the home team's good, especially here. I mean, look at Oregon, Washington. If the game's at Oregon, they win. The game's at Washington, they won. This is a dead even game. You get Missouri's playing very well. They play Georgia very well. And before that, they've been playing well. So I like Missouri as a home dog. New Mexico State, Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky minus 4.5, 57. Pitt and Syracuse, Pitt minus 3, 37.5. Are you kidding me? Why is this so low? Syracuse isn't that bad of a team. A 23 defense and a 28 defense. At least I believe Pitt's a 28. And a 37 total? That's way too low for this kind of game. UAB Navy, UAB minus 3, 54. UAB can score and has no defense, but as we just saw, Navy isn't the type of team that can take advantage of UAB's 38 defense. So therefore, I think UAB plus the 3 is probably the way to go. Middle Tennessee, 11.5, 52.5. They're both W teams. They both give up 31 and 30, so we'll see. I got to check quarterbacks. Florida Atlantic, 8.5, 45.5. All right, where's that? Florida Atlantic, minus 8.5, 45. We'll round it. We've got East Car that played Tulane. Oh, I don't know what happened in that game. I want to see if I can find it on the highlights on YouTube. Florida Atlantic, 8.5. They're the W team with the 29 defense, and they're 8.5. Theoretically, you'd want East Car here with 14.5 against a weak Florida Atlantic team, but Florida Atlantic put up big numbers last week. How UTK? Who's the best college quarterback now? Missouri, nice. Okay. Cal 1.5, 58.5. Against Washington State. See, I like this. This is a 58. This game you can kill over with. What are they selling me? So I got a master's in finance, and I'm getting questioned about some bullshit job. I'm like, what the fuck? What's wrong with these people? Arkansas, 2.5 over Auburn, 49. So as I was saying, Washington State, Cal, pretty good matchup. Should go over, but after last week with Washington State and they got 7 on Stanford, I don't even know what to make of it. So this is why I watched the highlights to go, what happened? Why did they, against Stanford, who has no defense, they scored 7 fucking points at home. They did the same against Arizona. They lost 44-6. They win some games. It's like, what is going on here with this team? Arkansas 2.5 over Auburn. We'll see. They're both E teams. South Alabama minus 11.5. 55 to Arkansas State. Southern Alabama's quarterback was out last week. We'll see if he's back. Arkansas State's terrible defense. Oregon State, Stanford. Now, Oregon State minus 21.54 to Stanford. I don't really get this one. I think which Stanford team shows up, the one that actually scored, or the they played some good games. Oregon State, decent defense. See, this is where you're scared because they didn't look like an over team, beating Washington State 10-7. Georgia, my boys, minus 11.5, 58. We'll call it 59. Now we're back to the under against Ole Miss. Ole Miss showed you what they did against Alabama. They lose 24-10. Somewhat of a defense. They're not going to score on Georgia. 11.5. You can probably go Georgia minus 5.5. You can probably go under. My boys, Georgia Southern 2.5, 57.5. To Marshall. Marshall looks pretty weak right now. And Georgia Southern is an over team. Oklahoma minus 12.5 and 58. Coming off of 2 losses to West Virginia. This should go over quite easily. Because Oklahoma with the 20 defense, but they played a 51 with Oak State, but it was a lot more. It should have been a lot more. And then a 70 with Kansas. We got to see what West Virginia's looks like. It's either an Oklahoma or it's an over. We'll have to see. Cincinnati, Houston. Cincinnati's been playing bad. Houston's minus 2.5, 55. Since he's an E team with a 28 defense, and Houston's an over team, but played Baylor 17-17. I don't know what Cincinnati's going to do here. Again, this is when it'll go over, is when you're a little worried after watching them last week. Colorado State 4.5, 46.5. To San Diego State. Colorado State's an over team. San Diego State's just a terrible team this year. Not really good. Probably Colorado State should win, but I got to check them. Ooh, good game. Rice and UTSA. Love the UTSAers. Rice, UTSA's minus 12. Now, they played the cream of the crop SMU last week and lost by 3. What was that score? They lost 36-31 to a very strong SMU team. They're getting 12 and a 59. Here's your over. Rice, good quarterback. They got the USC quarterback who went to Georgia, who now is at Rice. It's on his 3rd trip against UTSA. Frank Harris is back. They're scoring a lot. And it's a 59. We're still in the 50s. I'm dying to see this USC one. LSU, Florida. Where's Bobby? LSU 13.5. 63. I don't like that's a high number against Florida. Florida doesn't score that much. Let's see about the quarterback if he's listed on an injury. It's a pretty bad hit. Daniels actually, we all saw him. He did not have concussion. He had a broken jaw. Is uncertain if he'll be cleared. They're calling it a concussion. I don't think it was a concussion at all. So we're not sure if it's a concussion, then that's a different story. 13 and a half. It's all up to the quarterback. If he plays, I think they kill Florida, and they certainly go over. Texas minus 9.5, 54 to TCU. You got to like Texas here. They're playing good with their backup quarterback. Strong defense. TCU just their quarterback's injury. He's out, so they got a backup playing, and it's not the grocery store guy. TCU's got a better backup quarterback than the Bears. All right, A&M. We must be on page 2 because we're all done with the first page. All right, A&M is 19 and a half. I'll just call it 20, 44 and a half to Mississippi State, who looks like shit. A&M should kill them at home. The quarterback, I think, has been out for old Mississippi State. Ohio State, wow. Was 28, now 31 and a half, 46 to Michigan State. Ohio State's got a 10 defense, and they played Notre Dame, and they played Penn State. I don't know what happened in the Rutgers game. They're just going to kill Michigan State. I don't know if you touch the 31. Seems like a big number just because they don't score that much, Ohio State. What was the score last week? It was 35-16. So they really, maybe they put up a 40. So this is probably, maybe an over because it's low of 40. What are you going to get from Michigan State? Probably nothing, but it's a high number. 31's a high. Michigan State's not that bad. I mean, they're bad, but it's not like they're a high school team. 46. So Ohio State should be able to get points up. Does Michigan State score is the big question. Duke and North Carolina. North Carolina 11 and a half, 51. The question, Riley Leonard. If he's out, this is a good under. If he plays, this is a good under. Duke with the killer defense, 15. North Carolina, they won't score on them if, just because of as strong as it is. So Riley Leonard's got a high ankle sprain. There's no point in checking until Thursday or Friday. UCLA, 17, 45 and a half. Against Arizona State. Arizona State gives up 30. UCLA, strong under team, strong defense. Locked them under last week, came through. See, I don't know. Are they explosive enough to win by 20 at home off the loss, or is it just an under game? We'll have to check more. Boise, New Mexico, Boise minus 26 and a 60. We like this game over. 2 over teams. New Mexico gives up 35. Boise gives up 29. A 60. This game should go over, but it's a night game, and I am terrible. These are the games that are killing me. I'll take it over. Everything during the day goes the way it should. I get here, and they play a 10-7 game, and you're like, they give up 30 points apiece. They're both over offense. What the fuck? So that's where I've been struggling is right here. These late games are not going the way they should be. I don't know if they're fixed or what, but it wouldn't surprise me. Iowa State minus 7, 42 to BYU. BYU sucks. Iowa State's playing well. I like Iowa State here. USC, Oregon. Oregon minus 14. The game's at Oregon. And a 74. And this is over. You lay 8 to USC. That's a huge number. I mean, it's not one that you see. Believe me, this coach has never been a 14-point dog at Oklahoma. Yeah. I don't think I'd take him in 20. USC with the 34 defense. Oregon destroys everybody at home. There's no fucking way you can take USC here. Do you take Oregon -8 and watch Bo Nix throw up 7 touchdowns? Fresno State, 1.5, 55 to San Jose State. This should be a real good game. Fresno's the 8th team in the league. San Jose State's not bad, especially as a home dog. And last but not least, my Air Force, 18-48 to Hawaii. You got to love the Air Force here. Hawaii is just terrible. Air Force with the killer defense. Not sure what happened against the Army, but killer defense. All right. That's it, folks. So let's look at the big games. I mean, there's just so many. There's so many games first. And then, you know, it's distracting by the time you finally put all the lines in, and then you're like, okay, now let's go back. Which is why you got to write your teams down, because you get them, there might be a real good play, but you forget it. So I circle Kansas and Oak State, Missouri first. Just so I don't forget them. Georgia, Ole Miss. You got Florida State over Miami. You got Tulane over Tulsa. You've got Alabama, Kentucky. You got Michigan, Penn State. So let's do what we always do. Let's find the Z teams. Well, tomorrow we got Ball State's the Z team. Then on Wednesday, we got Kent, the Z team. Akron's the Z team. We got Southern Miss as a W, we'll include. Virginia's a W. Indiana's a W, but they beat Wisconsin, so be careful. See, because we're doing it by statistics, you got to be careful, because one game's not going to change the statistics. But if you see a team starting to play better, they're not what they are anymore. Vanderbilt's a W. Tulsa's a W. Temple, W, even though they beat the Navy, they're still a W. Lou Monroe is a Z, playing Troy. Connecticut's a Z, playing James Madison. Both of those teams should get killed. That's where you should concentrate. Troy to kill Lou Monroe, James Madison to kill Connecticut, because they're strong teams, even though they're not Tennessee and USC. Nevada, the Z team, got killed by Hawaii last week. Pitt's a W team. Purdue's the W team, but not that bad. Florida and the National, Middle Tennessee are W's, which basically means they score like 19, 20. They score more than the Z team, and they still give up the 30. That's the difference. Florida Atlantic played better. Arkansas State's a W. Stanford, I don't know what they are. San Diego State's a W. Marshall is a W. Michigan State, I'm going to leave alone because they did win a game. Arizona State, I'm going to leave alone. BYU is a W, and Hawaii is a W. So, for example, Air Force Hawaii, I got an 18 playing a W in Hawaii. They're an 18. They're military. They're not going to have a problem going to Hawaii and winning. There's probably bases there anyway. A 14 defense against the 34 defense. And they're just going to shut them out, which is what I thought they would do last week. My friend's not leaving her husband. I don't know what you're talking about. Nope. So, We've got I got to flip NC State. Wait. So those are your W and Z. There's not as many Z's. There's only 130 teams. Oops, I had the wrong color. There's 130 teams. So this is why I have to rank them. Because how do you know how good or bad Southern Miss is unless you put some sort of ranking down? You certainly can't remember all these teams. So, with that said, let's go. There's the A's and the overs. So let's look at the A teams. We've got Toledo is playing Eastern. Toledo's an A team in the MAC. Eastern's an under team. Let's see. Louisville's been playing very strong as the A team. Let me green the A's. So the A team, Louisville against Virginia. Virginia's a W. SMU's the A team against North Texas. Michigan and Penn State, A versus A. Normally that's a dog, especially a home dog. Very interesting game here. Alabama's an A. Tulane's an A, but they played terrible last week. Florida State's an A. Tennessee and Missouri are A's. Ole Miss and Georgia are A's. Now that's a little bit tainted because of they play the high school team and they play the MAC team. So there's two games that get caught in the stats, which makes them look like A's. So I got to go through the whole SEC and let's just do in conference, boys. Texas is an A. Liberty's an A. James Madison is an A. Kansas State's an A. Washington, of course. I'm going to put Oak State as an A. Oregon State, maybe an A. Oklahoma. Ohio State, Texas A&M, not North Carolina, not UCLA, Fresno State, Oregon, Air Force. So when I see teams like North Carolina, they're not an A team. An A team, to me, is Florida State, Ohio State, Michigan. They can beat anybody, but North Carolina is not. They're statistically an A, but not what I'm thinking. Anytime I see an A as a dog, I'm betting them. That's why I like A versus A's. I'm going to bet them. Well, there's more to that than meets the eye, Greg and John. And then our last piece of the over games. So we know who the real weak teams are. We want to bet against them. We know who the real strong teams are. We might bet on them or not. Now let's look at the over against overs to see the totals we want to go over. And there's not as many that we have. LSU, if the quarterback plays. Here we got App State, Georgia State. So here we're getting over teams against B teams. So Western Kentucky's over, but New Mexico State's a B. Pretty decent defense. Hard to go over with it. Here we go. Washington State and Cal. Then we got Rice, UTSA. I like that one. New Mexico, Boise. I like that one. See, then you got like USC playing Oregon here. Oregon's an A team with a strong defense. and USC's an over team. So you can't go over like we did with Washington. We could, but USC's going to have trouble because they're going to put pressure on the quarterback. So now we've got our different measures. We've got the worst teams. We got the best teams. We got high-scoring teams playing each other. Now we have some factors we can look at. We can go, yeah, I can go over there. I can go under there. And really see that. So that's really what we're looking at to start. Then we start looking at point spreads, like Cal 1.5 over Washington State. I like Washington State there. Oregon State 21 over Stanford. Is that too many? Oklahoma 12.5 West Virginia. West Virginia's good at home, but they're not good at Oklahoma. They're not going to be good. The Michigan game with Penn State, they're 5.5. What do we do with that? Michigan 5.5, Penn State. What do we can have Penn State in 11.5 at home as a home dog. We can have Michigan even. We haven't been able to have them at even the whole year. So what do you do with the game? Which way do you want to go? Do you want even? Do you want plus 12? Do you want to go over 38 or under 50? Now, what I know in big games, they tend to be unders normally. When you got really good defenses, the coaches start calling more conservative run plays. They don't triple reverse and everything, and the defenses aren't fooled, and harder to score touchdowns because the defenses are good, so you kick more field goals. That's what my first look at this is to go under 50. I got a supposedly a 7 defense and a 12 defense, although I'm not going to hold my breath with the 7 defense. But the 50, under 50, I think holds water here. Michigan's not a 7, but they're probably not much more than a 12 or 13 either. Probably right around the 10 Ohio State is. Very strong defense. I don't like their quarterback at all. They run the ball a lot. Penn State, this is going to be a war. So probably an under 50. In the 20s, you're okay. I don't see Michigan putting up 40 points on Penn State. It happens at Michigan. It doesn't happen at Penn State. Just like I told you, the Penn State-Ohio State game, at Ohio wins. At Penn State, it's a very close game. Michigan at Penn State wins. At Michigan wins. This is at Penn State. So, again, we got to be very careful. Alabama shouldn't have much problem with Kentucky. Tulane, they suck last week. So that's what gets you. Tulane sucks. I have Tulane against somebody shitty. Who was it? I got Tulane at East Carolina. They went 13-10. Like, how do you only score 13 on East Carolina's with their 26 defense? So you get upset at them going, fuck, I'm not going to play Tulane again. I lost money with them. And then here comes Tulane at home. If I can find them. Tulane at home to Tulsa, lane 22, and they'll destroy them because they're at home. They're upset that they barely won. That's what happens. So they go to East Carolina. It's all mental, right? They go to East Carolina. Oh, we'll beat these guys easy. They don't really get up for the game. Next thing you know, it's a close game, and then they pull it out, and then now they're pissed. And now they're emotional, and they're at home, and they're playing freaking Tulsa, who's terrible, 36 defense. So they should kill them. But do you bet it, or are you mad that, they barely beat East Carolina? I'm not going to bet on them. And that's what happens with betting. That happens to me at the poker table. There's one dealer. She dealt a 2 out on me, and it cost me. And when she sits down at the table, I get up and leave. I don't want anything to do with her. She's gonna fuck me over. I had aces and queens to aces and tens, and the guy hits the 10 on the river on a 2-outer to beat me. It was a big $600-700 pot. I was like, motherfucker. So when I see her, I just don't even pay any attention. So that's what we look at. Florida State, Miami, the Tennessee, Missouri game, the Georgia Ole Miss game, the Texas TCU game, the Liberty Old D game. So you're looking at this. The best one I see right now is James Madison, Connecticut. I got an A team against the Z team. I'm laying 25, but I really think that's a cheap number. In a teaser, I lay 19 with James Madison, explosive team against UConn, who just got killed by Tennessee. That's probably the best. And I got K-State, Baylor like that. I got Washington, Utah kind of like that. Theoretically, I got Oregon State, Stanford like that, but Stanford found a quarterback. They didn't find one. He's been there the whole year. He's just starting to play a little better. He showed up against Colorado, then showed up the next week, and now he's back to sleeping again. So, it's hard to say. Oklahoma, West Virginia. Oklahoma off of 2 losses. You got San Francisco 49ers off of 3 losses. These are 2 pissed off teams that are very good. So you've got to be very, very careful. I wouldn't want to bet against either of them. But that's what you want. They're at home. They're going to be motivated. They got West Virginia, who gives up 24 a game. Oklahoma just didn't look good. Well, Kansas just took it to them, right? You couldn't stop Kansas. They couldn't stop Oak State, but that's okay. Those teams are very strong right now. You got Oak State laying 2.5 at UCF. You get 3.5 in Oak State. Thank you very much. You got Kansas. Kansas is laying 3.5 at home. Or over 60. Texas Tech's usually an over team. Texas Tech with the 26 defense. This should be an explosive game. You can't stop Kansas. Oklahoma couldn't stop Kansas. Texas Tech's not stopping Kansas. So where's the hot hand? And that's Kansas, Oak State. The other Missouri is very hot right now. They play Georgia well, and Tennessee's okay, but this game's at Missouri. I wouldn't be surprised if they won. I wouldn't be surprised. Georgia, only 11 to Ole Miss. I don't see them losing this game. They're such a strong defense. They're going to give Dart all sorts of problems. And good luck for Ole Miss to stop them. They couldn't really stop Alabama, and they don't have nearly the offense Georgia does. LSU, Florida, we got to watch the quarterback. If he's playing, I don't know if you go over or you maybe go over. If he's not playing, it's going to be a difficult. Texas needs it. So we're starting to come in where they need the game to win their conference. They need the game to get to the playoffs, right? So we got Washington, Oregon. They got to keep going to get into the playoff. Utah, unfortunately, with Rising. Then you've got, I don't know what's going on with Kansas, Oak State, Texas, Oklahoma. I know Oklahoma's out of it. They lost to Kansas and Oak State. I think Oak State's in the run. Texas, we know, is in the run. Kansas is probably there. So now they're playing to win the championship to get to the playoff. I don't know about Kansas, but they might be, I wouldn't want to play them. Put it this way, again, in the NFL, they'd beat half the teams. They got a better quarterback than half the teams. It's just amazing. So that's what you're looking at. They throw us this, you got all MAC on Tuesday and Wednesday. Fortunately, I know all the MAC teams, so we can look at them tomorrow. But that's what you're looking at. It's the big one. And then you've got to figure out Ohio State 31-46. What do you do with it? Ohio State tends to get rolling. I think it's an over 40 with Ohio State against this Michigan State defense. And maybe Michigan State scores. I mean, I don't think you can count on Michigan State to score on this defense. A&M, Mississippi State looks terrible. UTSA, Rice, good game. Duke, North Carolina. We got to look at Riley Leonard. If he's out, it's an under because Duke's got this 15 defense. UCLA with a 16 defense. Look at the difference, though. Duke's 51 and UCLA's a 45 because North Carolina is a stronger offense, supposedly. This game's a rivalry, Duke, North Carolina. Normally, the dog is good in this game. We'll see. And then we got down at the bottom, USC, Oregon. Oregon, 14-74. I honestly think Oregon's going to put up 60 points here. It's really, you're hoping USC can score 20, which is really strange because you know they're going to put up 50 points a game, and yet I have no confidence they're putting up 50 against this Oregon team. And then they get UCLA, and I'm not confident they're going to put up 50 against UCLA because they can put pressure on you, UCLA. That's a whole different animal. Oregon, the difference is Oregon can score. UCLA doesn't really have the horses. And then the last, Air Force and A against Hawaii. So you've got a whole different schematics this week. We got a lot of A's versus Z's. We got some overs. We've got some big games. And then we're riding Kansas, Missouri, Oak State, on and on and on, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. See, now, do we even bother with Michigan, Penn State? We really can't figure it out. We can maybe go under as close as we can to figure it out. Do we want to fuck around with it? Do we want to say, you know what, I'm gonna take Washington over Utah. I'm going to take Oak State over UCF. I'm going to take Oklahoma over West Virginia. Why fuck around with the Michigan Penn State game? And that's really where then it becomes more of a bragging rights. Well, I said, I picked it. It's a big game. I picked it instead of just running from it, going, this is crazy. I'm going to go to this nice, easy, I'll take Missouri over 10. Well, that's not even an easy one. I'll take, let's see. I'll take James Madison over UConn. That's an easy one, right? That's the one you should be focusing on, not Michigan, Penn State, but everybody focuses on the Michigan Penn State on TV. I'm, rooting, whatever. And that's where you get fucked with betting because you're betting the wrong game. You're as I try to explain to Bobby, you're taking a lot more risk with a lot less for the same reward. The reward doesn't change. You bet a two-team teaser and you get 11 to 10 odds, let's say. So you bet 110 to win 100. Well, it doesn't matter if you take Michigan, Purdue, or Michigan, Penn State, or you take Ohio State over Michigan, or you take Oklahoma and Oak State. As long as you throw two in, it's the same odds. So you want an easier bet than a more difficult one. That's really what you want to look for. And that's what you try to break it down. But first, we got to look at injuries. LSU quarterback. Guy should have been thrown out again. I can't believe the Alabama guy didn't get thrown out. Now, we can use that this week. They play Kentucky, and they're laying 10. We can lay 4. That seems a whole lot easier than Michigan, Penn State. Now, if LSU's quarterback's back, they play Florida, then we can see what to do with that. That'll be a colorful game, the yellows against the oranges or the purples against the oranges. I like that. Florida State, Miami, it's a rivalry. North Carolina, Duke is a rivalry. Ohio State, Michigan State is not a rivalry, but Michigan State has a lot of upsets over Ohio State, but usually, not always at East Lansing. I remember our Connor Cook game in the rain. Michigan State was 14-point dogs, and they won the game like 10-7. It was all running and rain and punting, and Ohio State couldn't do shit. They weren't throwing the ball, and it just was run against run, and it was 10-7. Michigan State won it at the end in Columbus. So Michigan State has a habit of upsetting Ohio State more than Michigan does, but I'm not sure here. They're so beat up, and the new coach, and they got a new quarterback. I don't know. I'd be shocked if Michigan, forget the 31. I'd be shocked if Michigan State stays within 3 touchdowns here. But it's a big number. And again, do you want to fuck with the number, or you can go fuck with the James Madison, Connecticut number, which seems a lot easier. So I need to study. See, I've already got everything in. I know my A's and my Z's. I know my defensive points. They're all in. All I got to do is then dig a little bit more into them by looking at their schedule. There's so many games, but I don't do it we know Oklahoma, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. I don't need to do it with them. It's just like here, Troy Lou Monroe. Okay, let's dig into Troy Lou Monroe. I like Troy in the game, but let's see, are they really that strong, and how bad's Lou Monroe? So I want to see that. So that's kind of how you dig in, South Alabama, Arkansas State. How strong are they? That's where the money's at, if you can figure those teams out. South Alabama had the quarterback was injured last week, so if he's back. But anyway, remember, Oklahoma off of 2 losses to good teams. They were not upsets. Kansas beat their ass, and so did Oak State. So it's not like they lost to nobodies, but now they get West Virginia at home. They're going to have to pay for that one, West Virginia. And the same with the Niners, Jacksonville. We don't know what Jacksonville is yet. I still have no idea. All I know is they beat my Pittsburgh team in my lock last week, 2 weeks ago, and it pissed me off. But okay, are they that good? Lawrence doesn't look like anything. So now we're going to see them against the Niners, and we're going to see pressure. And we're going to see Trevor Lawrence throw 4 interceptions, because that's what he did in the playoff game to San Diego, and then San Diego decides to not play the second half the same way they played the first half, because they were up 27-0. That's how you beat Lawrence, just pressure him. You can't read a blitz. And so it's amazing how stupid these defensive coordinators are. All of these quarterbacks, I would be blitzing like that a lot, and just making the quarterback make decisions, and then just pick them 3-4 picks a game. That's all you need to do. It's very simple. But they want to play the cover zone in case the guy runs. We can be, no, just get on him and he's dead. You don't need to do that. All right, so that's college, that's pro. Waiting on injuries now, and off we go. All right, there's a few things I wanted to cover, if I can figure out where I put them. All right, so these things happen. One thing I came up with as far as just life in general is nobody wants to be told what to do. You'll listen to me on football because I can pick it. And so you have trust and confidence in me going, okay, if he says he likes, the USC over, I'm going to bet it. But most of it is you don't want to be told what to do. You don't want to be told to buy gold and silver. You don't want to be told the dollar's going to crash. You don't want to be told a lot. That's what I run into as a teacher, professor. Football is one thing, but if I'm trying to teach buy gold because the dollar's collapsing, nobody wants to be told that, because I can't prove it like I can prove football. It's easy to prove football. I gave you Cincinnati over Buffalo. Cincinnati wins. Oh, he picked it. I gave you, what was the free play? Kansas over Uh, over Iowa State as a dog. Kansas wins as a dog. They win. Oh, okay. He knows what he's talking. But I can't convince you with gold when I tell you the dollar's collapsing. How do you know? You're not seeing the result 3 hours later because it takes more than 3 hours. I can only bring into you, look what happened to the French and look what happened to the Spanish and look what happened to the British. They all had gold. They all got rid of their gold, went to wars, and had hyperinflation, and their dollar collapsed. That's all I can show you is in the history of life, every country that went to a dollar not backed by gold, so they just printed these to death, every country that's done this, it's always gone to zero. And I remember talking to Luke in the airport in Barcelona, and he says, will it go to 10? I go, 10%. I go, it goes to zero. That's what happens because you either want to date the girl or you don't. There's no in between, right? You see a nice blonde, you want to date her, or you don't want to date her, right? So the dollar, either you want it or you just, there's no confidence in it. There's no in between. And right now they're printing so much of it that nobody wants it. Plus the US doesn't even want it. That's why they're printing it to go to zero. And that's why they're doing these stupid wars, is strictly to crash the dollar and blame Putin. They think they can control it, but there won't be CBDCs. You're not going to get rid of the banks. And I don't know what they're doing. I honestly think that Russia and China are behind the US blowing itself up. As you can see, Biden's in bed with both of them. He takes bribes from both of them. And who does it benefit if we go out is China and Russia, and they got all the gold. So the best way to beat the U.S. is not by militarily, by letting them beat themselves. And that's what George Soros gets Biden elected, and Biden is paid off, bought and paid for, and doing whatever they want. You want the Putin? Yeah, no problem. I'll print the money to zero, and I'll do that. That's what you have, and basically, it's incredible, but that's what's happening. And so you always look at who benefits from the low gold price, and it's Russia is buying it. Yeah, China, they're both buying it at these incredibly low prices of 2,000 an ounce. It's ridiculous. I'm surprised they just start buying all the silver at 25. That's even more ridiculous. So that's what you have. So keep that in mind. There's always something behind the scenes. So again, I can tell you this, but you won't believe it. You might believe it, but you really aren't sure what to believe because, well, the U.S. has never collapsed and we're in the dollar. Well, yeah, the dollar did collapse in the Civil War. They had greenbacks and came out with dollars. And then 1913 is when it all went to hell and they had the central bank who prints the money. We've had the Great Depression and all these wars because of the central bank. That's unfortunate, but that's what we have. That's the problem. So you don't want to be told what to think. Nobody wants to be told. You all want to come up with it on your own. So what do I do to say buy gold? What do I do to say the dollar's collapsed? It's already collapsed. It's gone. Well, what do I do? Because I can't really prove it like I can prove football, right? If the Jets win tonight, I picked it. You got it. Take the Jets in 9.5. And so if the Jets win, you go, yeah, he picked it. No, I'm not going to go 100%. I think sometimes people think I just don't lose. And I hate to break it to you, but I do. But that's why we do bankroll and we bet percentages. And we're going to win 8 out of 10. So you just keep betting. We're going to have some losers. We know we can't beat Bernie Madoff and bet after the games. So that's what we do. But you see the results. When I'm dealing with the dollar, and I can only go with concepts that I've learned, in my master's program as an Austrian economist, not a Keynesian, and I try to explain what that is. And that's really, how do I get you, but you don't want to listen. You only want to be told by somebody that you trust. And you trust me in football, but how do you trust me in gold or the dollar collapsing or BRICS and the whole thing? So that's really what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, the next thing is free market, a pie at a gas station. So I go and they have these little chocolate pies. They've been $1, and then they went to $1.79, and then today they were $1 again. So I go in and got one with my big gulp Diet Coke, and which the aspartame scares me more than the sugar, but it's a treat. Once in a while, it's okay, but not too much. So, I have that. So I go in and I tell her, how are, oh, I see is it $1 or 175? She says it's $1. Okay, I'll buy one. I said, I guess they haven't been selling. And she says, oh no, they've been selling great. And I go, they were selling great, you wouldn't have them on sale. So they got them on sale for $1. You only put things on sale. So let's talk economics. You only put things on sale when they're not selling. If the things are selling at or above market, why would you put it on sale? In other words, if the pies are selling for $1.79, why would you make them $1? You wouldn't. You would never make them $1 if you can get $1.79. Why would you? That's terrible business. Maybe it's a loss leader like milk, where you get people in to the store to bet the pie and then they get the Coke with it. Maybe, but I doubt it. Not at a Speedway gas station, who we don't even know you have it and it's $1. Why would I come for that? So why would that be an issue? So she starts arguing with me though and saying, oh, no, we have a lot of sales. And I'm like, at $1, you have a lot of sales. You wouldn't put it at $1 if you were selling it at $1.79. Oh no, a lot of people buy it. And I'm like, it's the basic concept. I'm gonna find my equilibrium price. So this is $75 for this bottle. Why would I sell it for 50 if I'm getting 75 for it? It doesn't make sense. I only lower the price if I can't get the price. So with these chocolate pies, if I'm getting $1.79, I'm never marking them for $1. Why would I? The only other way, if you're getting in like 10,000 of them and you want to sell them, but why would you do that? I mean, that doesn't make sense at a gas station to get so many in and sell them for $1. Nobody even knows you have them. Nobody knows you have them. Nobody knows what you're selling for. So she's arguing with me, and I'm just going, look, nobody puts something on sale if it's selling. You only do it when it's not. And I left. So that's one thing. The next thing is I'm in the pool, and I ask a lifeguard, did you see the football games yesterday? I run in the pool just for conversation. And he says, no, I don't watch football. So he leaves, and another lifeguard that I talk to normally, I says, what's with Bill? He says he doesn't like football. Who doesn't like football? That's anti-American. And there's a guy in the pool behind me, and he says, well, I don't like football. I watch soccer and rugby. And I go, if I want to watch rugby, I'll watch the Philadelphia Eagles. Otherwise, soccer, you can't compare soccer to football. Football is 20 times the sport of soccer. Soccer, you're literally just kicking a ball. Football, you kick punts and field goals, but otherwise there's blocking and tackling and passing and running. There's a lot more to football than soccer. And I'm like, why are you talking to me? I did not invite you into my conversation. I'm talking to this guy. You're behind me and you're putting your 2 cents in. I don't really give a fuck. I don't know who you are. I don't have a conversation with you. I'm talking to him. And I don't buy soccer as even a real good sport or rugby. I don't know. I prefer football. So I didn't understand that. Well, soccer is popular because it's cheap. All you need is a ball. So you got 50 kids, you just need a $10 ball and you play soccer. That's why it's popular because they don't need to spend any money. You want to play baseball, you got to buy a mitt and a ball and a bat and spikes. Um, Basketball, you got to rent a gym. Hockey, you got to rent the ice. Football, you got to have 8 or 9 guys, and you need pads and a helmet. Soccer's cheap. There's no cost. That's why everybody likes it because most of the countries are communist and they don't have money, and that's why soccer is popular. But in the U.S., nobody cares about soccer. It's football, and then I don't even know where to go from there. Maybe basketball. You've killed baseball, and then hockey I haven't watched in years. So it's football and then basketball. But football is the king by a mile. But anyway, that's that. So, I'm like, who the fuck are you? Why are you in my conversation? I'm not talking to you. I'm not even looking at you. I'm about to leave, so I do my stretches on the stairs for my back, and then I go in the hot tub. I'm looking at him like, who the fuck are you? I don't even say anything. I just look at the lifeguard, and then I walk into the hot tub, and I'm you're not invited into my conversation. Why are you throwing your 2 cents in? I don't care. Anyway, more of that. And then as we were talking, CJ Stroud with my friend, I say he's not very good, and he wants to say, look what he did yesterday. And so I can throw the Michigan game at, look what he did against Georgia. What did he do against Georgia? He ran the ball for 200 yards. Didn't really throw it. He threw a little to Harrison, big deal. But look at the Michigan game. He didn't show up in either Michigan game. 2 years in a row, they got killed by Michigan because he doesn't show up. And you can't look at one game and then all of a sudden look how good he is. It doesn't work that way. So that's where I'm at with him was you want to look at one game and he has a big game, just like Sanders Jr. He has that big game against TCU, and you see TCU is really not that good this year. But then where was he against Oregon? He what 10 to 30 for 100 yards? Yeah, he's a superstar. He didn't show up against UCLA, So here, State is he going to show up? And he didn't show up last week. Who are they playing? The late game, Prime Junior against Oregon State, 26-19. Again, he doesn't show up. So, that's why you look at the defense. When you have very strong defenses, you've got to bet the defense over the offense. The strong offense will not show up against a strong defense. Ask Dan Marino and Dan Fouts how many Super Bowls they went to. And when Dan Marino went to the one Super Bowl against the Niners, he ran into a 49er defense. He didn't show up. So defenses will dominate a good offense. So that's Colorado's problem. They don't have a defense. So that's what I wanted to. Those were kind of side things, but really economics with the pie. So the key is you don't put things. If things are selling, you raise the price. You don't lower the price. A little chocolate pie. I mean, if you're selling it, why would they be $1? Because I don't know that you even have it. I got there. I didn't know. Is this $1 or $1.79? Oh, it's $1. Okay, I had no idea. Even looking at the box, it said 179, and there was a sticker that said $1. That's why I asked the question, but really not what you're even looking for. But if you are putting things on sale, it's because you're not. There's only one reason to put things on sale, because you're not selling it. That's why I look for more like cars to be on sale because they can't sell them. It's too expensive. Houses are different because they're owned by people. Cars are owned by GM and Ford and Mercedes and Toyota. They're the ones selling it to you, where houses are sold by, if Bobby owns a house and he wants to sell it, it's an individual thing. There's no GM making a house and selling it. It's not how it works. Maybe in the beginning there'd be a subdivision with, I remember the house I bought, there was like 100 units to be sold. But then once they're sold, now if I go and sell, it's me. It's not. It's not the guy who made it. Now it's mine. I can sell it. So I take ownership now. It's an independent thing where I'm selling it. I don't think Bobby Bo's on. Well, the reason you hated economics in school is because they don't teach you Austrian. They teach you Keynesian. You don't see me with fancy words. You don't see me with charts. But if you take Keynesian economics, which is what they teach in high school and college, it's all these words that you don't understand. It's all these charts and graphs. It doesn't make any sense. They'll talk about equilibrium, but do you see me use that? I don't even use the word. I say, we look at how we sell this. So if we have this, what does the buyer want to pay for it? So we negotiate at $75. He pays $75 for it. That's what I get for it. I get what the market will bear. Now, I could have said, well, I'm trying to get equilibrium for it and talking Chinese like the Keynesians do. In other words, well, my optimal to make the most amount of money, I got to sell it for $69. That might be, but that doesn't matter. It's all what the market will bear. So my best price should be $81. I'll make the most amount, but I can't get $81 for it. I could only get 75. That's what the people, once I get over 75, I lose my customers. So it doesn't matter what optimal is. What matters is what can I get from the market? And then is that profitable? So if I get 75 a bottle, do I make money? So I got to figure out my break even, which means, well, I got to pay for the plant and the bottles and the labels and the whiskey and all this. So if I sell the bottle for $52, I make over 52, I make money. Okay, I'm getting 75, so I know I'm making money. I'd like to get 80, but I can't because the market won't bear it. So what I just said was Austrian economics in English, not Keynesian economics with whatever the fuck they say. I took a class at Oakland U, and I had no idea what the guy was saying. I mean, the last thing I would have done was an economist after that class talking Keynesian economics. I happened to go to another school for my master's where they taught Austrian economics, and it all makes sense. And it's in English. And that's really, I think, the key to, you got to teach kids, keep it in English, keep it, and then look at their eyes, make sure they're getting it. That's really the key to it. It's got to be, you got to talk a language that when I show you Mark McGuire and he goes ring fence, I don't know what he's talking about. I think I have an idea that COMEX is the ring fence. And if Russia's selling you gold, it's outside the ring fence. What he means is that it's not coming from COMEX, it's coming from Russia. So Russia's over here. So what he should be saying is there's 2 or 3 different places, but he calls it a ring fence, which, it's just stupid terminology that he's using. He's not using the proper words and examples to get everybody to understand what he's saying. So a lot of his stuff he says, nobody understands it. And so you just kind of ignore it. And that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for COMEX exploding and going to shit, and us getting a physical gold price, which is what we're getting very soon. So that's That's the key to it. But that's what the market is. You have something to sell, and is there demand for it? I have something to sell. Is there demand for this? And the answer is no. The answer is less and less. 81 countries don't want it. Russia and China don't want it. They all want gold instead. How can this compete with gold? It can't. So a lot of this war is between the U.S. and Russia and China, so they don't go with the gold. But Russia and China aren't really going with the gold to get rid of the dollar. They're just putting up competition. What JP Morgan in the US and England, they don't want competition for the dollar. So they keep the price low so you're not interested, because if demand was if it was actually priced at demand, the price, you would never see 2000 again. You'd be seeing at least 20, and silver would be about 1,500 to 2,000 also. But they won't let it go there, so they hide. So they're basically lying to you, right? The government's lying to you, as it always does. 9/11 was a gold robbery. We never went to the moon. And then the gold price is not supply and demand. It's manipulated down, so nobody really wants it. That's what they're trying to do. But if you dig in like we do and you go, fuck, these guys are Bernie Madoffs. They're all Madoffs. But here's Russia, China saying, well, no, we're going to give you a real physical price, which we know once it becomes a real price, physical, not in the paper world, it's at least 1 0 to the 2000. And the thing is, they think it'll blow up the U.S. economy. They won't. It'll just go to a gold economy from a paper economy. And that's what these people don't get. This barter, everything's barter. I went and got this. I paid for it with money. That's barter, right? Barter's trade. I traded this for this. That's all. That's barter. So if I use this, so if I don't use this, I'm going to use silver to barter. But it's still it's a trade. Barter is, I have this, I'm going to sell it. What are you going to pay for? And you want this. So I have me wanting to sell it and you wanting to buy it. And then we agree on some payment. Well, give me 2 ounces of silver and I'll sell it to you. And you go, okay. And you give me 2 ounces of silver and I give you the bottle. Is it barter? Well, the whole thing's barter. The whole thing's trade. What we determine, you could give me a Tom Brady card for the whiskey, right? Oh, you got a nice Tom Brady card? Okay, I'll sell you this for the Tom Brady card. Is that barter? Yes, but the Brady card has value, and so does the whiskey has value. But who cares if it's barter? We don't care about that. It only matters is how do you get paid? And if the dollar's gone, what are you going to pay me in? And how did we choose the dollar in the first place? Because this is a medium of exchange that's not supposed to be printed to death. So they're printing it to death. There's a central bank that all should be gone, but that's all the barter is. The barter is strictly the trade of, I want a hamburger, I'll give you money, or I'll give you whiskey for the hamburger, or I can give you this pen for the hamburger. That's all barter is. It's easier if it's this, because this is a medium of exchange. This is what everybody agrees. Okay, yeah, you can pay me in this, and I'm going to go buy, I'm going to go get gas or food or clothes, pay my rent using this. So I get this in for work and I pay it out. That's the medium of exchange, and it doesn't have to be this. Soon it's going to be gold and silver, but it doesn't have to be this. And what the U.S. is fighting Russia and now Israel with is they don't want this they don't want to lose the control that they have with the dollar. And Russia and China are saying, fuck you. We got so much gold now. We want gold to go up. We want to kill you because you're run by morons, and you don't have any gold. Since you don't have any gold, then we want to destroy you, but we'll do it financially instead of militarily. So instead of nuking us, they'll just make our money worthless. Same outcome. We'll be broke, and they'll be the ones in charge. Now it goes from Spain, France, England, U.S. to now Russia and China will be they'll be the main dogs, the lead dogs. And that's what happens. I mean, it's inevitable for some reason that the people who are in charge, who have the gold, who are number one, some reason go fight a war, and for some reason they lose, and then they lose all their gold because the war is expensive. World War One, the UK, Napoleon with France. I mean, why do you go to? If I got all the gold, I'm only defending myself. I'm putting it in a safe in a bank so you can't get it. Otherwise, why would I go to war? I've already won. I've got the gold. What is the point of the war? And that, like Napoleon, why did he go to Russia and fight? What was the point? Look at the Roman Empire. It was so big. Why did you keep going to war? And then after it, they devalued their currency by taking all the gold and silver out of their gold and silver coins, making the coins worthless. Sounds familiar? So it's what's happening. The question is, they're so fucking stupid. Why did they let it happen? And the really answer is because Biden took bribes from Russia and China, and basically George Soros got, if you want to be president, I'll get you elected, George Soros, and then the Russians and Chinese. So really, we all got to learn to speak Russian and Chinese and figure out where we're going to get gold-backed currency from. That's why I advise you to buy gold, because if you're on dollars, you're fucked. And if you think this isn't going away, and we get back to nobody wants to be told what to do, if you think this is not going to go away, then you just don't understand, and you better figure that out, either listening to me or somehow finding somebody or something to listen to or read it in a book or watch a video that is exactly what's happening. And if you don't get it and you ignore it, oh, that can't happen in America. Well, I can assure you it can. The Titanic can't sink. It's unsinkable. And the guy says, I can assure you it can, and it is, and we got 2 hours. Well, I can assure you this is going to zero, and we've got maybe 2 months instead of 2 hours, maybe. I don't know, because once people realize it's worthless, it's gone, right? So once people start selling their dollars in the foreign countries, in Britain and in Germany and in Japan and in China, whoever has money in our stocks and our banks, in our houses, they have it in U.S. dollars. The dollar universe it's collapsing. Once they realize that it's gone, then it's gone. And what happens is people just don't want to admit it. So once you realize that's what happens, that's why once people realize that it's not the goods going up in price, but the dollar going down, the game's over. Right. So right now people think, oh, Oreos are $5 or Cheerios are $5 for a little 20-ounce box. And the tuna is now only 3 ounces in a can for the same price. Once people realize it's not that it's the dollar losing value and not the prices going up, because the prices aren't going up, the dollar's losing value. So once people realize the dollar's losing value, it's all over. That's the game over right there. And it's this close, but they make sure they don't teach it. So Greg and John wants me to teach at a university. They'll never allow me to teach Austrian economics at a university. Maybe a few, But if they're already teaching and I don't want to teach there, I need to teach the people that don't understand what's happening. That's why when I'm at the hot tub and I try to teach it and they look at me like I'm on drugs, I go, I can't teach it. I mean, these people don't want to use it. So we'll have to figure out other ways. But basically, it's a joke. I mean, these people, they're all standing there and the tidal wave's coming or the snowball's coming. And they're just going to be blind. And then when it hits, when the tidal wave hits, we'll be in our gold boat and they'll be sitting there going, geez, why didn't anybody tell us? And that's what it is. So once you realize it's not prices, ketchup didn't go raise their price. This went down in price, right? This is losing value. And that's why I tell you, when they print 10, 20 trillion dollars of this, when they print it, it's worthless. It can't have a lot of printing. It's got to have a low, what do they call it? It's got to be scarce. Overabundance loses value, so you can't overabundance, which is what $10 trillion does. When the foreigners start selling their stuff to get back into their own currency, you're going to have $90 trillion. Well, the prices of everything will go through the moon, but it's not the prices. It's the dollar value dropping to zero. Once they sell, the value is zero. You're all fucked. And your only out is if you have gold and silver or you have a Brady card or a Mantle. You have to have some real asset because that'll keep. Then you have to have something that can get valued in gold and silver. Put it that way. That's the simplest way. So if I have this and it's $75, the dollar's now zero. This is now worth zero in dollars. But it's worth 2 ounces of silver. Okay. See, it needs to be able to get valued in the other method, from dollar to gold. That's called a real asset, and that's what you need. That's why the baseball cards will work, the house works, and that's why the gold and silver, because that's what's being valued, then goes to the moon. But we have gold and silver, so we're okay. And that's really the key to it. Once you realize that the gold and silver, see, really all that's happening is the dollar's going out. It's being overprinted. It's losing value. It's lost its value. So now you need to price things from dollars to gold and silver. That's going to be the transition. How much silver is it worth? How much gold is it worth? And believe me, you'll be buying $500,000 houses with 1 or 2 ounces of gold. That's where it's going to head to. That's why these people like Warren Buffett, who sit there with $2 billion in cash, they got 2 billion. They got 2 billion of these, right? They got 2 billion of these, and it's all going to be worthless. This will not have a value. It'll be worthless. And once we understand that this has no value, that's when everybody runs to gold and silver, because that always has value, because they can't print it. They can't attack you on Wall Street with a writ. They can't do it. They can't print gold and silver. They can print this. Oh, all the banks collapse. We'll bail them out. We'll print 10 trillion of these. Well, that's inflation, right? You've printed dollars out of thin air, makes the dollars worth less. That's why these Keynesians are idiots. They think that, we'll just print our way out of the debt. You can't. The more you print, then that's worth less. So you print $10 trillion to pay the debt off, and before you know it, that's only worth $5 trillion. So now I got to print 20 trillion to pay the 10 trillion off. And before you know it, then you're printing 50 trillion to pay the 10 trillion off. And it just has no value. It's not prices going up. It's the dollar having no value. And that's the key to the game, right? That's the key to this game. We're already 5 steps ahead. We know that the dollar has no value. We know the only exit is a Rolex, is an asset, is gold and silver. I'm telling you, don't buy jewelry because you don't get a full value out of it. Jewelry is a very bad Ponzi scheme because you'll buy a nice gold chain and you'll pay $1,000 for it. And then you try to sell it back, and the best you're going to do is like 300 for the gold. Let's say you buy a gold chain. Now, can you sell it as if it's the gold chain that was $1,000, which was for the artistry as a collectible? Not so. It's like selling a painting. You don't sell it for the paint and the paper. You sell it for, oh, it's a Picasso. Then you sell it as a Picasso, not that. So you'd have to sell this as a necklace, not for the gold. And I don't know if you can sell. I don't know how to sell it like that. But your gold coins, if you have a coin collection, those get, they don't get it. You got a nice quarter from 1925 and it's worth $1,000. When it ain't worth the 25 cents you bought it for, it's worth $1,000. Now the dollar collapses. What's it worth? It's worth whatever in gold now. Now it gets valued in gold. And now, oh wait, nobody has gold except for us. That's when it gets really interesting. We'll be the only ones with gold. We'll all be, very well to do. And the rest of the people here will be running around with dollars going, what the fuck just happened? Why didn't my government, who's supposed to lead us, why didn't they tell us? But why did they put us in this situation in the first place? And they'll blame Putin. Oh, it was the war with Israel and the war with Russia. That's why we had inflation. You gotta love gold and silver, Luke. That's your way out because that's the new money, and that we're going into the gold universe. So we're out of the paper universe; it's gone, and now we're going to the gold universe. But it takes a little time to get out of the dollar universe and into the gold universe. And yes, Luke, it's coming very soon. Look for it in January, probably. It'll come when people recognize the dollar's gone, right? We know it's gone, but they don't. And once they realize that the dollar has no more value, as I said, it's not prices going up, it's the dollar going down in value. Now, Mark Alligator always talks about it for gold. It's not gold price going up, it's the dollar going up. That's the thing for everything. You buy ketchup, Coca-Cola, or go to McDonald's. It's not the prices are not going up. The dollar's losing value. The dollar doesn't buy as much. That's the problem, and that's really what it is. And so, yes, you just love to take care of yourself, and it's money. I mean, you'd love money if it had a value. You'd love $100 bill if it actually was worth $100. I go to the grocery store now and I got a couple pounds of hamburger and some chicken all on sale with a few other things. And it was worthless. It cost me $100 for what should cost me like $40. I mean, the olive oil was $14. A big bottle of olive oil. Should that be more than $4 or $5? I mean, it was $15 a piece. But since I cook with olive oil all the time, I made sure I bought a couple of them. But yeah, it's crazy. So yes, gold and silver are preservation of wealth, as Egon calls it. So it's basically, you're getting out of the dollar universe into the gold universe. So you got to get rid of your dollars to do it because the dollar universe is gone. It's not worth anything. So you go into the gold universe where the gold price is sitting nice and low, and it's down here and it should be up here, and we're getting on board. Okay, let's stack right here and wait for the elevator to go, which is your question. Inflation's been through the roof for a long time again, but we got to understand what inflation is. Inflation is printing this. This used to be dollar worth $1. It's now worth 1 cent. We understand inflation is simply overprinting this, period. End of discussion. You've inflated the money supply. That's why it's called inflation, and that's it. Prices going up are the effect of this losing its value. Prices themselves is not inflation. It's the effect of printing this to zero. So I need more dollars to buy it. That's what inflation does, the effect. But in reality, inflation is you printed the money to zero. The money has no more value. And then once everybody realizes this prices aren't going up, it's the dollar going down, then they get out of it, right? And that's where we're real close to it. Our friends in Europe and Asia will be selling their dollars soon, probably, I assume, in January, right after Christmas. It'll be happy Merry Christmas and New Year's, and by the way, the dollar collapsed. It's like The Godfather Part 2 when he's in Cuba, and all of a sudden the Castro takes over, and then he runs out of there. But inflation's at least 20%, if not higher. You can only measure it, and you could measure it in gold if you left the gold price alone. So you have to find something that's not manipulated. Then you would see it, but you can't look at prices. So what they try to do is see prices go up. Oh, ketchup went from $2 to $3. Oh, wait, now it's back down to $2.50. Oh, look, inflation's going down. Well, it's irrelevant. The inflation is the dollar losing value because you're printing the shit out of it. The price is not determined by the market. It's determined by us. Like I said, you make Coke $3 a 2 liter. We're going, I'm not paying for it. And then they put it on sale for $2 or buy one, get one free. So it's theoretically $1.50. And that's how look, inflation's gone because Coke lowered their bottle from $3 to $2 because they couldn't sell any. So that's why you can't look at prices. Interest rates are meant to slow the economy so people don't shop. Again, thinking prices will go down, people aren't shopping, which is sort of a roundabout way of getting the market to not buy, but we don't need higher interest rates to do that. We do it all on our own. When we sit there, we go, well, here's what's the market for Heinz ketchup? Oh, it's $2.79. That's too expensive. We wait. It goes on sale. We buy it. So we control the market. That's why the Keynesians hate Austrian economics and want Keynesians economics, where they can control the market, which they can't do. Only we can control the market because even we don't know what we're going to buy. I can go buy a 7-iron today. I can go buy a steak. I can go buy a sweatshirt. Who knows? I don't know what I'm going to buy, but you can't control that in a market. You can't say, well, that's what he's going to buy. I mean, who knows? We're so broad and we have money and there's so much to buy. We don't know what we're buying. But inflation's at least 20%, if not higher. And again, you can't measure it in prices because if we don't want it, if the rib guy wants to sell it for 45 and nobody buys it, he lowers the price. Does that mean inflation's going down? No. It means the market is determining the price, and the market says, sorry, it's always the market. That has nothing to do with inflation. It's only that you killed the value of the dollar. After bankrupting the U.S. national debt. Well, that's bankrupting the economy. You can't have what's my big thing? It's got to be scarce to have a high value. Overabundance loses the value. So you're overabundancing the dollar. You're printing more than we can handle by 10, 20 trillion. And when all the foreign and overseas money comes back, it'll be 60, 70 trillion coming back in between the house market, the stock market, and the banks. Then it's Katie bar the door. It's all over. Because then it's too much money. And once you have all this money printed, it's not being used. The value of the money is worth less and nothing. And so once they understand the value is worth nothing, then that's the game. We know that's what's coming. We can see the tidal wave And so we are running into the gold boat. Like I say, once the boat hits the iceberg, I run into the lifeboat. I don't wait till there's 10 feet of water in the boat to say, oh shit, we're going to drown. Now I got to go in a lifeboat. As soon as A happens, we hit the iceberg, I go into the lifeboat. And as soon as I see these idiots who are running the country printing and printing and printing, and we'll give all this money to Israel, we'll give all this money to Ukraine, we're going to build all these equipment, we're going to leave all this equipment in Afghanistan so the Shiites or the Muslims can take it, which is what happened. Think about it. Why did we leave it all? We left it for them. Why did we do that? Because we wanted a war. I mean, I don't know why you'd want a war or why you would leave it. Like you're that stupid. You're just leaving it. It's like moving right from one city to another and leaving all your furniture in the house. And then the next guy comes into the house and all the furniture's there. Why would you leave your furniture? If you're moving out, you take the furniture with you. Well, not the U.S. We pull out, but we leave all the equipment on the floor, and then it mysteriously ends up with Hamas, and it mysteriously creates a war with Israel. Like, yeah, we're all that stupid? Really? Do you think we're that stupid? So the U.S. is bankrupt. The dollar is gone. This and this are gone. They're worthless, but people haven't recognized they're worthless. Go buy something in Europe and go buy something here. And you can buy it, and it's getting more and more expensive, and it's worth nothing. But nobody's going to come out and say it's worth nothing but me. And you can see it. You can see that the effect is the price is going up, the value is going down. You can see that. But because the FX market's all fixed, you see the dollar is 95 cents on the euro. What do you mean the dollar's 95? What, the euro is not better off than the dollar. Well, it's 85 cents to the pound. How can it be 85 cents to the pound? The pound's heavily inflated. It makes ours look like it's not inflated. How can it be worth 80? So the whole system is FX to Russia, to Ukraine, to China, to Japan. It's all the dollar versus all these currencies. And they make a boatload of money on the exchange doing it. They make a boatload of money when you can't have a Swiss franc and buy a euro. You have to take the Swiss franc to buy dollars, take the dollars to buy the euro. The Swiss franc can't buy the euro. Who designed that? Who's stupid enough to go with that? So I think everybody's just tired of U.S. sanctioning, U.S. doing all this war shit because of the dollar, and that's what they're all pissed about. So you got about 90 countries that do not want anything to do with the dollar, which means the demand for the dollar is gone. Nobody wants it. They're just working out, okay, if we don't use the dollar, what do we use? And here's Putin going, hey, I got this BRICS currency that I'm going to back by gold because I know nobody's going to trust me or she, but they trust gold, and everybody trusts gold. He with the gold makes the rules. I don't understand why the U.S. isn't buying gold at these ridiculously low prices. That's the problem. In fact, they sold their gold. So who sells gold? Hitler goes into World War II. What does he do? He steals all the gold from France, from Belgium, from Czechoslovakia, from Poland. Oh, they weren't even wars. They were just simply him going in and stealing the gold. That's World War II. Let's go to Czechoslovakia. They got a lot of gold. They go in, they attack, they pull the gold and any valuables out of Czechoslovakia into a bank in Germany. And then, let's go to Poland. Let's go here. Let's go there. And Russia must have had a lot of gold because he's going to Russia. Probably what happened is he found out that they stashed their gold in Stalingrad. This is a joke, but I'm beginning to think it's not a joke because there's no reason for Germany to attack Stalingrad. And the only reason you would attack anything is for the gold. So maybe Stalin hid the gold in Stalingrad. And there's a big vault there with a ton of gold. Maybe that's why they went, because nothing else makes sense. Just go to Moscow, They probably found out that the gold had left Moscow, which would make sense, and is being held in a tunnel underneath Stalingrad, which is why there was why would you go to war with it? You want us to believe because the name of the city was Stalingrad that they had the war against Stalin? Are you kidding me? What were you, like 5 years old? That's bullshit. So it's shit like that they don't tell us, that they want us to believe this ridiculously stupid stuff. But that was World War II. Was Hitler going and stealing gold from every country he went to? And then he was coming here. He was right off of New York, ready to attack. Why New York? Because that's where the Federal Reserve is with all our gold, was right there. He was going after the gold. So if you understand that, and all these wars are about gold, they're always about gold or oil. You do not go to war over nothing. And there must be gold in Israel or Hamas or whatever the fuck. We know there's gold, and I don't know about Ukraine, but Russia's got gold and silver, so that's really what that war is about. Plus, to stop the gold-backed currency from happening, that's why there's the war. That's all it's about. That's what it's always been about with the U.S. and these countries who want to go on a gold-backed system, like Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi, who got murdered for trying to bring out a gold-backed currency. But they bit off more than they can chew with Russia and China going, no, no, no. Like in the football guys, no, 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 no. And that's what it is. So we know the dollar's lost its value. 300 million people don't understand it. You can go to 300 million people and say it, and they won't understand it. Oh, no, the dollar's fine. I get paid in dollars. I go to the grocery store with dollars. I go to the restaurant with dollars. Yeah, everybody accepts it in the U.S. still to a point, and then they won't. And once they realize it doesn't have a value, but legally, if you go to a restaurant, they have to take it. Legally, they cannot refuse the dollar because the Federal Reserve, it's a Federal Reserve note, right? So it says, see, on top it says Federal Reserve note. And then it says the United States of America. So this is a Federal Reserve note for $10. So they must take it with the package of the Federal Reserve. Will give you the $10 for the Chinese food you just bought. Now we know that ain't worth $10. We don't know what $10 is anymore. It's worth about 50 cents, the $10 bill. But you see a $100 bill, you think it's worth $100. Question you're not asking is, but what's the $100 worth now? And this is what it's worth. It's worth 1 cent, or so a $100 bill is worth $1 now. And that's where you're going to find it. You don't see that, right? You see an FX concern. We're strong versus the euro. Our dollar's strong. Our dollar's worth 1 cent. What are you talking about? It's strong. It's not strong. But they'll tell you, and people will believe it, and Wall Street will back it up, and the banks back it up. The banks run the government, so they can say whatever they want. They're, okay, I guess that's right. But we're already bankrupt, Luke. The U.S. is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve is bankrupt. You can't own $35 trillion in debt and not be bankrupt. So that's like me and you having $500,000 in debt. You're bankrupt. I mean, unless you have $1 million coming in. So if you make $100,000 and you got $1 million in debt, you're bankrupt. Well, you're going to try to pay it off, but basically you can't. So you go bankrupt because you can't afford your debt. And we are the biggest debt nation. They keep selling us credit cards and all this shit. And the problem is the banks are so stupid. They don't realize that it's all paper. It's all going to zero. So you can give me credit cards and this and that. Doesn't matter. It's not worth anything. The assets go to zero because the money goes to zero because the money is in dollars. So like I say, if this is worth $75, this goes and you kill the dollars to get rid of your debt, this is worth zero until it gets priced in gold and silver. Or until you have new monopoly money, which is what they'll do. They'll come out with new monopoly money, US dollar two, and try to convince you that that has value. Is it backed by gold? No. Then it doesn't have any more value than this dollar does. And that's what they'll try to scam. That's the next Madoff scam that they'll try to pull on everybody, is that the dollar, the new dollar has got value. What's it backed by? Nothing. How does it have value? It's the same piece of paper as this dollar. I know the euro and the yen, the Japanese yen, the euro and the Canadian dollar, and the U.S. are all coming out with new dollars in 2024, which is 1 month away. So they're going to come out with new dollars. Doesn't mean they're going to be worth anything. They'll be worth zero. They'll still be worth zero, but you'll think, oh, it's a new, no, this has a value. No. It doesn't have a value. So that's why gold and silver, you can't play that game with. You can't print it to zero, and it has, the question will be, what's the real value of the gold and silver? Because it won't be, right now it's valued at $2,000. But once the dollar blows up, then gold has its own life and has its value in gold will buy a house. The dollar won't buy crap. And once you realize that, that's when we really see it. So to answer your question, Luke, how much should I get? How much is enough? There is no answer. It's as much as you can buy, because you know where it's heading, right? You know, the more gold I have, the better it is. The more silver I have, the better, the more it's going to be worth. So there is no answer to how much is enough. We don't know, because we don't know where. We can't say, well, it's going to be worth 50,000 an ounce. It's not. It's going to be priced. Gold will be priced in gold, not in dollars. So an ounce of gold buys $500,000 ounce. Well, wait, if I have more gold, I got more money. I can buy more a house or whatever. And that's really the key to it, is that. So please understand that. Again, everything's priced at market for whatever it is. Well, it's breaking right. The break is the Russian-backed ruble with gold. Once they start getting the gold on the market, and they're already doing it with oil. So Russia and Dubai and the Saudi Arabias are already wanting gold for their oil. Well, my oil is pretty valuable. I don't want paper crap. I want gold for it. So that's already starting that, which is forcing the gold price higher. Well, once the gold price breaks, nobody's going to want dollars once they realize that the gold price has been suppressed and the silver price. Once people realize that, it's just a flood. It's everybody's jumping off the Titanic onto the lifeboats at the same time. And that's where we're headed. Right now, we've been hit by the iceberg. We're already in the lifeboat, right? We're in the gold lifeboat. We're already there. And we're watching the boat, and we're watching the water come on, and it's going to sink. So we look at it going, well, we know it's going to sink, and we're in the gold boat. And we know that, but most people don't know it, because it's not as clear as the water's in and the boat's sinking. It's not like that. It's you've got to really read and understand that that's what's happening. Most people don't have that knowledge because they don't teach it. They don't want you to understand it. They want you in dollars until it collapses, and then they want you broke, and then they want to control you. And it won't be digital. It'll just be whatever the new, US dollar number 2 is, and it won't be backed by gold. It's going to be like Venezuela. So if you don't know, just check what's happening in Venezuela. God knows how much a hamburger is there, but it's like 60,000% inflation there. Or more, like 100,000%. Look at Zimbabwe. I mean, the inflation is so. Zimbabwe came out with gold coins, and they've done quite well. They've sold out of them, and they're making new ones. So it's already broke. Try to understand that. The dollar's already broke. Only we know it, but it's sort of like a magic trick. We know the girl got sawed in half, didn't really get sawed in half, but the audience doesn't realize it. And her legs are folded in one box, and they open the box, and there's rubber feet over here, and then they put it back together, and the girl's fine. And right now, they're seeing the trick, but they don't get that the ending is we collapse. They don't get it because you can't be bankrupt and survive. And interest rates are irrelevant. They're to slow the economy to lower the prices, which has nothing to do with inflation. Inflation is you inflated the money supply, period. But will they tell you that? No. Do they tell you what inflation really is? It's prices. No, that's not what it is. That's the market controls all that. And then these idiots say, well, there's deflation. That's far worse. There's no such thing as deflation. The rib guy lowered his price because he couldn't sell it at the market price. The market price got adjusted. That's all that is. Oh, his $500,000 house is worth 200. Well, that's the market. It doesn't matter if you have inflation, deflation, whatever. You bought the house for 500 grand, you got to sell it for 200. That's life. That's the market. Don't buy it for 500. Wait till it hits 200. So I'm saying wait till it hits 200. And then instead of using paper, which will be worthless, you'll pull out your gold. And the guy selling the house will be so happy to have gold, he'll take the gold versus the paper, which he realizes is worthless now. That's why I'm telling you, an ounce of gold will buy you the house. So just wait. There's no reason to buy it now. Just grin and bear it for a little bit more, and then you'll take the gold and pull an Eddie Murphy and going, I'll take that one. I'll take one of those and a Ferrari and that. Here's a couple ounces of gold. And that's why I say as much as you can buy. Buy. We're so fucked here. And really all you got to do is just look at Putin, 32,000 tons of it. What do you think? He likes the color? I mean, there's no reason. He doesn't want a war. He doesn't want to spend the money. He just wants the gold. He's just really protecting the gold. That's all he's doing. That's why he's not really doing an offensive. He's just being defensive. He's on the border with his weapons, and he's just, stay away from my gold. I mean, that's the whole war, right? He's defending the gold in his basement, and it's about the Ukraine. It's got nothing to do with the Ukraine. It's got nothing to do with NATO. It's about stay away from my gold in my basement, my 32,000 tons. Why would Putin have 32,000 tons if it wasn't? It is. We know it. Why is he coming out with a gold-backed ruble? Because he knows that's the smart play. And why are they coming out with a gold-backed BRICS currency? Because nobody will trust the Russians or the Chinese. But they'll all come aboard because everybody trusts gold. And that's the bottom line, Mr. Stone Cold. That's exactly what's going on. Yeah, well, once in a while, Luke, I know what I'm talking about. Really, you're gonna use the gold. So with the $2,000 an ounce gold you bought, you're gonna be buying a house that's worth 500 grand, but it's not gonna stay 500 grand. So eventually, the house that's 500 grand is gonna be worth zero in dollars. The dollar will break. It'll go to zero, and then you'll revalue the house in gold. It'll be worth 2 gold ounces. We'll buy you the house. That's the point of it. So everything gets revalued in gold and silver. That's in dollars now. But everybody's so engrossed into the dollar, they don't understand that. Well, wait a minute. How much is the steak's $10 a pound? Where's it going? It's going to zero, and it's going to be replaced by 1 ounce of silver, or a quarter, a silver quarter, or a silver half will buy you that same steak. So it's just, we're revaluing it from the dollar to the gold and silver. But nobody can see that but us. That's what will happen. How did we get this? Where do you think this came from? Let's go back to 1775. This wasn't around. How did they buy stuff? Right? There was a medium of exchange. Then they came up with this, and then they started pricing. Oh, you want chickens? Okay, it's 5 of these, or you want hens, or you want cows. You want to build a house? It's so much of these, and that's how you do it. And so all that's happening is the paper universe is gone. Here comes the gold universe. All the prices get swapped, and the market will determine how much they're going to cost you. Are they going to cost you a silver dime or a silver quarter for your eggs, or a silver nickel? Maybe it's a silver nickel that's going to buy you the eggs. That's what's going to happen. How do you get change? Well, you give them the ounce of silver, and they're going to have nickels, dimes, and quarters and halves in the register, and they're going to give you that in silver. Now, the only problem here, since we're a bunch of fucking idiots in America, where are they going to get the money to do it with? Where are they going to get the silver and the gold to use as the medium of exchange? Well, they're going to have to go to Russia and China for it. So, this is why we need to learn to speak Russian and China. But if you're in Russia and China, then you'll be fine. You'll have a silver dime, and you can buy eggs and milk all you want. I don't know what these companies like General Mills and Nabisco and Pepsi and Coke and Doritos, what are they thinking? Because they got to reprice everything. But you would think they would have gold and silver. Somebody needs to start making these gold and silver coins, right? So I can sell my eggs, because I won't be able to sell it in this, or maybe it's down the road. So they'll come out with the new currency in 2024 that'll be worthless, won't be backed by gold. It's worthless. Then it buys them another 6 months till everybody smells their rat and says, this ain't backed by gold and silver either. This is the same dollar I got now. Well, that's what's going to happen, because the value of the ounce is going to be huge. See, right now it's manipulated down, so you're in dollars. Oh, it's $2,000 for the ounce, but it's manipulated. It's not free market. Once we get the dollar to collapse, the gold goes up. Now, what they say, Putin and Xi are not trying to collapse the dollar. They're trying to compete. But the dollar can't compete with silver and gold. That's the problem. So now, so the other problem is going to be getting the gold and silver back from Russia, China. How are you even going to pay them? What are you going to pay them with? So and then you got idiots running the government that are still fucking clueless to gold and silver. Well, it is crazy. That's the problem. But if you go back to the Romans, there's always a medium of exchange. There's always something. I'm sure they bought hens with the gold and silver coins that they had. They'd go to work. They got paid in the gold and silver coins. They'd go buy a chicken with the gold and silver coins, or they buy clothes, or have toga parties. John Belushi was there in Rome doing toga parties. That's really your problem, is what do you do with it? So that's what faces, that's the biggest hill to climb, is revaluing, but getting gold and silver coins to go to Kroger's to buy your eggs and milk. Oh, here's a quarter. Here's a silver quarter for the eggs and milk, and they'll price it in that, right? It'll be priced in a silver nickel, a silver dime, a silver quarter. That's how they're going to price. But think about it. How does Coca-Cola price their Coke? Well, they have to buy everything in silver and gold, and their plant is now worth zero, has to be priced in silver or gold. I don't know how the fuck they price everything out, but how does Coke figure out how much to sell their Coke for? It's a silver dime, maybe silver nickel, but what is my cost? And this is the whole problem, right? I got to figure out my cost. I don't know. My cost is in dollars. I got to get it in gold and silver. And with that, I can then develop this. It cost me a silver half. So I got to charge a silver 75 to make money. I got to make my profit, right? So how much is my cost to make my profit? That's really where you get to is changing the pricing over, and it's going to be a bitch. But that's the only way out. And where are you going to get your gold and silver? So I don't know. These guys own some. Buffett owns some silver, but he doesn't own gold unless he just bought some. But most of these idiots are not in gold. They're in paper. They think, oh, when the prices go down, I'll buy it. With what? Oh, with the paper dollars I have. Well, they're not worth anything. I can't wait to see these idiots when they figure that part out. Oh, I can't. Oh, it'll be sweet. No, you morons. You don't have your $2 billion, Warren Buffett, is zero. You have zero. The only way out is gold, but you didn't fucking buy it. You wanted to buy paper. Well, it's already here in every other country. Keep in mind, the U.S. doesn't want the gold and silver to go up because that makes their dollar worthless. It's not that the dollar is already worthless. Me and you understand that, but the problem is 99% of the population doesn't understand that. They still think the dollar has a value. That's why they're in stock and they're buying, whatever, but or their money's in the bank. Well, that's really intelligent. Having your money in stocks or the bank, you might as well just burn it. But that's the problem. And then as soon as people start to realize that, they're going to try to go into gold and silver. I'm not selling my gold at 2,000 an ounce, and I certainly am not selling my silver under 1,000 an ounce. So when silver hits like 500 an ounce, don't be coming to me. Once I see 2,000, maybe at 1,000, but once I see 2,000, then I might sell a little bit. But what do I want? I don't want this shit back. I don't want to sell 10 ounces of silver for 20,000 and get this. We already know this is worthless. So I need to get, probably I'll have to go to Russia or the Ukraine or Switzerland to sell it to get BRICS gold-backed currency, because I don't want to give you gold and silver for this. What the fuck would I want to do that for? I'm getting out of this. I don't want to get back into it. So that's going to be the key, is going and getting the gold back currency of the BRICS once the shit hits the fan and the dollar goes, and but it's still there, right? Gold's now 30,000 an ounce. Well, I don't want the dollars that you're pricing it in. I want the BRICS back dollars. So that's the key to it, is you don't want, that's why you just buy an asset. You buy a house with the gold. You don't want the money in the gold. And it's really the key to it. So, pardon me, getting tired. So, no, people are too stupid for bank runs. Now, banks will explode when the foreigners pull their money, and part of the $90 trillion pull. So there's 90 trillion in US dollars outside of the country. When these people realize that this is worthless, it comes back in, which means they pull their money from the banks, from the stock market, they sell their houses, they get out of US dollars. Then it won't even be a bank run. They'll just pull the money. So the bank will hold nothing. Sort of what happened to Credit Suisse when the Saudi king sold all his billions out of the Credit Suisse. That's why it collapsed, right? Because they didn't have the money to pay the king of Saudi Arabia or whatever. So that'll be the problem. Believe me, the 30,000, 40,000 that people have in the bank, it ain't going to be worth anything to get a bank run on it anyway. If you're not pulling it now for gold, you're waiting till the boat is full of water going down to get out. So that's why I keep putting it in Titanic perspectives. The boats hit the iceberg. We walk to the lifeboat. We get our gold and silver. We take all our money from the bank. It's all in gold and silver. And we get in the lifeboat. And then you've got all these people here who don't realize that the iceberg hit the boat or the boat's sinking. One of the two. They don't realize the boat's sinking. And now they walk out and the water's up to their chests and they start putting two and two together. And then they start running for the lifeboat. Then the panic sets in. And if you still have your money at the bank when you're at that point of, oh shit, the boat's sinking, you're fucked. So why are you waiting for the boat to be tipping over to get your money out? So the bank runs should already have taken place. If you have any money in the bank, you're out of your fucking mind, and except for 3,000 or 4,000, enough to pay your mortgage and some utilities and food, just for safe haven. Really, I don't have money. I have a little bit of money in to pay the bills, but really, what I have is I don't want to have to sell my gold and silver at these ridiculously low prices. So I have some cash out to bridge. So when the values go up, then I'll have a little bit of money in my safe, and then all the gold and silver won't be 2,000, it'll be 20,000. And then I can sell an ounce of gold and I get 20,000, which will be worth two. And, but that's the thing. Otherwise the banks won't have money for you. If you're looking for the FDIC, they certainly won't have money for you. The insurance companies. Again, keep in mind, the banks run the government. So the banks don't want to help us. They want to help themselves. How many movies do you have to see where all they care about is go watch go watch the Attack on Wall Street or the, what does the Home Alone father say? We don't give a fuck about the customers. All we care about is keeping the firm whole, keeping our business running. That's all we care about. And that's basically what it is. So you have to understand they're going to bail themselves out. And they don't care about us. Nobody's getting money, but the problem is the money won't have a value anyway. So that's really the big problem. The money won't have a value. The only value will be in gold and silver or a Mano card or a Rolex or, a Picasso. Otherwise, you won't have anything that's worth value. And I love these fake art things that are like, what are they? Can't think. Boy, I'm really getting punchy. Jesus Christ. These phony works of arts that are electronic and they're just on the internet, but it's not like you get the painting. It's not like I would get the bottle of whiskey. I would just get something that says I own a bottle of whiskey. So that's what they're doing. Tom Brady's doing this illegal thing where you're supposedly buying a autograph card of his, but you don't actually get the card. It's all electronic on the internet. What a bunch of Ponzi schemes that is. Who'd be stupid enough to do that? Well, it's limited. You're going to get rich. Yeah, bullshit. NFT, is that what that is? With the paintings? Who the fuck would be that stupid? If you want a good painting, you got to buy it. It's like you don't buy an ETF, you buy the gold. You don't own a gold stock, you own the gold. Now, the gold stock's a little different because you own the mine, but you don't want to buy an ETF thinking that you have gold. If you bought one of these Rick Rude ETFs, the Sprout stuff, thinking you had physical gold, you got made off. You'll never get, there is no gold. So again, the only way to be safe is to have gold. So if you're in Madoff, the only way to actually make 15% is to actually own gold. All these movies, it's all the same. People want to get rich. They buy stocks. They're on Wall Street. You don't want stocks. We'll give you a safe haven with real estate trust, and you'll make money. And it's all people want. I don't even think people want to get rich. The attack on Wall Street guy didn't want to get rich. He just wanted his 8 to 10% return on his 60,000. That's all he wanted. He's thinking of his retirement. He wasn't thinking, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. He was just thinking, I'll turn 60 into 70 and take care of my wife. That'll be nice. So he wasn't trying to get rich, but he knew enough to be dangerous. He knew enough that if I put my money in a real estate trust at 8%, I'll make money. What he doesn't understand is not only if they don't pay their mortgages, you're fucked, but even if you have it, the money you have is being inflated. Since 1971, it's being inflated. Once we went off the gold standard, the money's been inflating, and it's just blowing up now. Should have blown up in 2000. It should have blown up in 2008. Somehow they kept it running. I don't know how, but it should have been blown up then. That was the intent. But they printed more and more. I guess that's what it is. There was inflation, but there wasn't the debt. So they printed a bunch of money, and then the debt grew. And now they're at the end with the debt's just too high. They can't get out of it. And that's where all you got to do is, if I'm president tomorrow, there's no more central bank, and I've got us on a gold-backed currency. So, problem solved. Then I get rid of the education. I get rid of half of these things that are out there that are ridiculous, these government agencies, and then I just go make friends with the Russians, and I'm all set. I don't have any. I get rid of my enemies. That's all I can do. I'll hire Michael Corleone to kill the head of the 5 governments, and we'll be okay. That would have been a better movie. Well, he killed the Russian head, the Chinese head, the Japanese head, the German, and the Italian. All right, we're okay now. In my world, we'd have to kill like 80 different countries, kill the heads of 80 different countries. You're welcome, Luke. Have a nice day. Take care. Go buy more. You got probably till New Year's. Then the clock strikes 12 and we all turn into pumpkins. All right. Greg and John, no, that's not what happened to cards in the 90s overabundance. They printed more. That's the whole, they inflated the cards. They made too many, not the limited ones. That's when I show you that limited card, I don't have it out anymore. I show you the Barry Bonds 100 card, or no, I have the Mahomes. Where's the Mahomes? Where have I put that away? I didn't think I put that away. Maybe I did. Losing my mind. Oh, here it is. So what they eventually did was come out with these 50 count ones. But the regular cards they overvalued, which makes these even more valuable. But in the 90s, there was all the hoops and skybox first came out. They were real nice cards, but they didn't. And then it was because of me they started numbering cards, because I talked to Beckett and I said, you got to make it. You got to make them limited. There's just too many of them. None of them hold the value. You won't keep anybody. So people aren't going to keep buying cards because they're going to go up and then down. You need them limited. So that's what really led to this. This is the late 1990s, and they started coming out with these. This is 1996 or 7. Topps red label. So there's a black label. These are red labels. The red labels are the limited ones. So that's because of me, because I said you've got to keep them limited. So they started numbering them. And then they came out with this one as a 50 count, and it's Mahomes, so it's gold. God only knows what that's going to be worth. But they didn't overabundance that. They just printed more. So again, the more you print, the less they're worth. So if anything teaches you a lesson, it's that. That's what's happening in the dollar now. It's all tops and skybox and hoops. You can't make this many dollars and expect the value to stay. So the reason gold's good is you can't fuck with the value. you can't overproduce them. So gold's like the Mahomes card. This is all the gold. It's 50 counts. That's gold. Silver is like 100 count. And you can't print it. You can't print anymore. A little bit more comes out of the ground, but there's so much more demand. So that's really what you take out of the baseball cards. That's why these cards aren't worth much. I mean, here's Reggie Jackson and Bobby Bowe, yet they're not worth, maybe as PSA 10s, they're worth, Reggie's probably worth 50 and Bobby's worth maybe 70 or 100. PSA 10, if it's a 9, it's not worth anything because they made a ton of those. And that's the problem. That's why I only buy numbered of the new cards. So if I'm going to buy a Joe Burrow or this, they're going to be numbered. I'm just a regular card out of the set will never hold its value. So you got to find your players. And I was thinking about getting to a show and buying some Joe Burrow rookies and buying some Mahomes rookies. I don't have any. I have too many cards now. I don't need to buy more, but I guess I can always trade a Brett Favre rookie in for some Joe Burrow rookies. But that's really what you're looking for is, anything overproduced doesn't have a value. And you've pretty much overproduced this. Pretty much overproduced it. And therefore, that's why it's a bad system, because how much paper is enough and how much paper is too much to print, number one. Who controls it is a nightmare, number two. And then, it's never going to hold its value because you're always going to keep printing and printing and printing. So really the best way, you can have the paper as long as it's backed by gold and silver, which is what BRICS is going to do. They're going to come out with a BRICS currency. It'll be backed by gold. And that way they can't overproduce it and everybody knows it. Oh, it's got gold in it. It's good. That's the only way. How all these morons in all these countries printed this shit not backed by gold blows my mind. That's where the Ponzi scheme comes in. And what blows my mind more is Madoff didn't just start printing money. He didn't need anybody. All he needed to do was start printing money. Go to the printer, and whoever ran the printer and said, okay, I'll cut you in, print me. This is how much money I need. And just print the money and give it out. That's all he needed to do. He didn't need to do all the worrying of getting people in. That's why it's a Ponzi scheme going on now, is they print money and then they, try to make you think it's worth something. So it's a little bit different of a Ponzi scheme. But anything in this has no value. It's worthless. But who's going to tell you that? Just the professor. All right. So understand that it's all worthless. If anything isn't limited and isn't backed by gold, it's worthless. So if we come out with the new currency in 2024, it's worthless. Unless it's backed by gold. But we know the Russians and the Chinese are going to give us gold-backed bricks. There's our gold. We just got to figure out how to get it. I guarantee it'll be worth a hell of a lot more than the U.S., and that's why the U.S. is crying. Oh, no, don't leave us. Oh, no. We're going to go to war and stop you from doing it. And they're like, fuck you. And that's really the problem. They're not, Russia's not afraid and China's not afraid of us. and they're just printing, and they're not even competing. We don't want to blow up COMEX. We're just going to have our money backed by gold. And we'll let the public decide what they want. And of course, the public's always going to decide on gold. And the people here are just they're not taught it, so they don't understand it. And what are you going to do? So again, it goes back to nobody wants to be told what to do. Nobody wants to be told the only way out's gold. Nobody wants to be told it because they haven't learned it and they're not sure. And that means their dollars are worthless. That means they're broke, and nobody wants to hear they're broke. Therefore, nobody will sell their dollars for gold because they're unsure and they're just not. Well, why would I sell $100,000 and buy gold with it? Yet my buddy at work did, and before I left one job, I went with him, and he bought $100,000 worth of gold. So he got like 55 ounces. And he's probably like, when's it going to go up? But I think he should realize it's now going up now, and or getting close to going to the moon. And so I'm glad for him. But that's exactly what you do, is you get out of your money before it goes to zero because it's not backed by anything. So if you understand that, then any money that you'll have ain't backed by gold isn't worth anything. And it's just, you buy the gold because it's an asset and it's going to go up. That's why you buy this. It's an asset and it's going to go up. And you buy the Rolex and you buy the paintings because those are assets. And you're going to switch from dollars to gold. And that's how it's going to be valued. So with that said, I will leave you. Time to eat, 5 o'clock. I am exhausted. Good luck tonight. JETS, Jets, and 9.5. We will see. I've been hot. 7-1 in the pros this week. And it's funny how the free one, the Seattle one, is the loser. Sometimes I that's the winner, and then sometimes that's the loser. It's just frustrating. I try to pick the best one or one of the best ones. Anyway, so that's what's going on. So have a wonderful night. I'm going to go relax. I don't know. See, with daylight savings, it's 5:15. I don't know how late it stays light out anymore. So that is a problem. So anyway, have a good night. www.teaserking.com. I'll be on about this time, 1:30. I've been sleeping in a little bit. I've been going to the pool instead of at like 10 at like 10:30, and then not in as big a hurry, and stopping at the grocery store or somewhere, and then doing this, and off I go. So anyway, have a wonderful night. www.teaserking.com. And I will see you tomorrow. All right. Take care, everybody.